right, guys, welcome to another edition of the Space Bros Show. That's right, we're here to talk about all the Superfly epicness of Star Citizen, our favorite game of all time. And with me again this week, we have the regular crew. Everybody's here. It's pretty awesome. We're so happy to have everybody. We would like to welcome everybody. Let's go through the list here. We got Mr. Moonshiner with us.
Yep.
There we go. Miss Sophie Girls here.
Hello, good evening.
There we go. And we have Mr. Eric McKetton with us as well.
What happened to my crop? Why do I have a ceiling above me?
I don't know.
I thought you were going to say crotch.
Hey.
It was like, where is this going?
Well,
where are we going?
I know it's
if I was talking about my crotch, I'd be reaching all the way up here too, Sophie. That
I don't know anything about
he's
anatomy.
anatomically challenged, so we just have to put that out there. We'll fix your crop. We'll work on your crop. Not your crotch, but your crop. We'll work on that.
I'm not
my head's disappearing into it.
Mr. Nighthawk Zales also with us tonight.
Evening, everyone.
There we go. And, of course, my good friend Mr. Stoutman here.
Hello, hello.
There we go. So, guys,
Can anybody guess what state California is in? Well, I was gonna say what country California is that he's wearing that ID
I'm still
from?
waiting for
Not
you to
state.
answer the state part. I'm curious.
No, I was going to say what country California is, and I said what state California is instead.
Mm-hmm.
It is a country.
It's the fifth largest gross domestic product in the world.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's insane.
Live stream repair with Mitauchi there. We have fixed his crop. His crop is now fixed.
Oh! In the fix, I suddenly blocked out part of Nighthawk.
I know. It's fixed.
It's just drag and drop it.
There you go. Done. Live repair for everybody to enjoy. There
Except
we go.
now Nighthawk's crop is also done.
That's the way it is. All right, guys. So
Already getting the questions.
Yeah,
Wow.
let's go stack up those questions, save them up, guys. I don't have an awesome method to do it. If you really want to kind of organize them, though, if you jump in Discord, drop them there. That would probably help me organize them. Just put them in the pub channel there, and we could probably start to stack those up. It's a little easier because it gets kind of scrolly for me in the chat sometimes. So, but we had an awesome week this week. I think nothing can compare to this ATV that I've seen in a long time. This Part 2 of ATV, I wasn't really hyped about to begin with, and then it started to leak out that they were going to have some really good information, some good stuff, and it just, I don't know. I was sitting there basically with my mouth just gaping open, stunned from the word go on that all the way through. And it was only like a 36-minute episode?
Yeah.
Something like that? They kept it nice.
It was
Yeah.
There was a lot of chafing from that episode.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Seriously.
The
They're
Fap-O-Matic
chubbage.
was happening. It was
Well,
so
and
good.
half of it was a tour also, which doesn't sort of counts as good stuff and sort of not.
I love
that tour revealed some of the best fapping material.
Yeah, it had some.
That's
it
right.
had some good stuff there. Some good stuff there. So where do you guys want to start? I mean, there's so much stuff. My brain basically exploded. I was trying to prep for the show, and I just got so many notes. It's like it doesn't even matter. It's like at this point, I think we're just going to get through the ATV without even going too deep in the monthly report. It's insane, guys. The amount of stuff. So I guess we could try to do it from, chronological leaks, I guess here. So we saw the tour. So what impressed you the most about the studio tour? Leaks included. What was it? What do you guys think? Moon, what do you see in there that kind of blew your mind?
Oh,
put them on pressure now.
Go with the leak. Go with the whiteboard.
Yes.
And all those things written on it. I mean, that I don't know. It's one thing to do a walk around the office, and the office looks nice and all, but really everything else that came along with that video was kind of
Do you think that was intentional? Let me go ahead and ask everybody. Do you think that was intentional that was there? Because we know we get a little extra hype with CIG leaks, like what happened with Disco last year.
Thought.
I mean, not
that.
to be nefarious or anything, but just just leave that up. Because I think they're really sensitive and really careful about everything they show now. And I think just leaving that up for extra hype would be totally okay with me.
I'm not entirely certain if it was intentional that they had it in there, but I have a feeling that Hennessy, Justin, Lando, one of those had to have spotted it and realized that people would have been able to read it and decided, maybe after talking with other people, go ahead and leave it in there just for the fans to find. I don't necessarily think it was intentional that it was originally caught on camera, but that they probably allowed it to remain.
Yeah. How much stuff do you think they cut out? Because you noticed like it was like a real follow through tour, and there was just parts like where they cut to like somebody he'd introduce, and they started to go to his computer. They're like, cut, like you can't show that stuff. So
Zim's got a good point though. Yeah, the Terrapin was supposed to be the Gamescom reveal. From it sounds like it at least because it's so far along, and then to have the name show up like that without any mention of it since the original poll does sound like that was not intentional. And the way they reacted to it, I reversed the verse today was, we're not even talking about it.
Yeah.
What kind of ship is a Terrapin, if we've heard about it before?
It was going to be one of the other starter ships, and I believe a mining ship, if I remember correctly. But it was in one of those. Ship? It was in one of those polls we did a long time ago when we had whenever we meet a milestone, they do a poll of what the next stretch goal is going to be, and it was one of the losers. Just like the Reliant was, if I recall.
Yeah, that was when they did... Actually, the Reliant won that one, I thought. I thought that was when they had the Reliant, the Dragonfly, the Terrapin, and then one other vessel, and they thought everybody would vote Dragonfly.
Okay, yeah, the Terrapin was the one that lost to the Reliant.
Yes.
And
so did the Dragonfly, but they had prepared for everybody to vote Dragonfly, and nobody did, so they were like, oh. So that's why the Reliant took all that.
The Terrapin is not a mining ship. The official description from the poll was a literal tough nut to crack. The Terrapin is the most heavily armored of the base price spacecraft, hence the name Terrapin Turtle.
Okay.
Originally designed for long-range survey missions in dangerous star systems, the Terrapin's design philosophy involves wrapping the ship in additional layers of armor and reserving a significant amount of engine power to host the latest shield generator in its class. So, good Lord, a starter ship more durable than the Aurora. That's going to piss some people off.
And that's probably why it didn't get voted for, to be honest. It doesn't... Anything defensive like that doesn't really sound exciting to people, because especially in the universe we have right now, in the greater universe, sure, for...
And it does have mining capability, so it is also... Terrapins are popular among private miners with an equipment mount and small storage hold that can be converted for valuable minerals. So it's for, like, wildcatters.
So every ship in that poll is getting made, making all your volts irrelevant.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was all those ships were going to happen anyway. It's just about when we influenced when those 4 ships were going to get released to us, and and that was it. That was the only, I think, influencer on that originally.
The Hurricane is the other one from that list that lost out during that poll.
Okay.
So we're getting both the Hurricane and the Terrapin. So yeah, like Stoutman said, we are literally giving every ship from that poll made. So our vote was meaningless. We just chose what order they got made in.
Yeah, pretty much. And what was it? Over at the wiki, the Hurricane was some ships avoid dangerous encounters with speed, some with stealth, and others with maneuverability. The Hurricane's philosophy is that it should be able to blast anything that gets in its way out of the sky, and the Hurricane won't win any races, and its electronic signature won't let you sneak behind enemy lines, but it features a wide array of customizable small-bore weapon hardpoints, plus its ability to customize weapon types in several ways. Hurricanes
that sounds like the Buccaneer.
Doesn't it?
Kinda.
It's like, are we getting another Buccaneer?
It's a starter version of the Buccaneer.
Because, it sounds like it's going to have, with the small weapon hardpoints, like a shit ton of size 1s or something, on it. Maybe, you just fire an abundance of, like, 8 size 1s instead of, like...
It sounds like it's going to be a little round oval turtle with a thick armor and just, like, little tiny weapons everywhere, just all shooting at once, and it just floats across the screen,
Maybe.
That's what it sounds like.
It says it has, like, no maneuverability, and it's, like, bulky, and... It's got a bad signature, so you're not going to hide it. It's just one of those things. Mm-hmm. It reminds me a lot, actually, of like the ship off EVE Online called the Hurricane, which was just basically could dump a lot of bullets at stuff, but had no real other special feature to it. Then, it threw a lot of stuff and was cheap to build. So, I could see that.
Yep. I was impressed with the size of the building and how many people we saw working. I guess I didn't have a real grasp on that, but we went from first floor to third floor, and we were filled with people. So I do want to know what's on the second floor.
It felt like a real game studio.
It's probably Squadron 42's primary development area is the second floor. Well, and I remember, last time we had a tour of it was a while ago, and they were talking about how they were expanding into the other floors to get prepared for the influx of people. But at that time, it was only a tour of one floor, if I remember correctly. But They started the fiscal year at 132 people or something like that. They're now at like 175. They expect to be at 185 by the end of this month.
Right,
So-
right.
Yep.
They're still going to be hiring a bunch
186 by
more.
the
Well,
end
if you
of this
think of that,
month,
isn't
and
that about half the
200 by
company?
the end of the year.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
over half the company.
Yeah, I was gonna
majority.
say
It's about
half the
300
companies in that
worldwide.
office. Yep, absolutely. But yeah, I thought it felt like, I've seen tours of things like Bungie and these other studios when they do big game releases. That tour and that size office felt more like what I've seen in other companies. And to think that's just one location they have, it's pretty impressive how they've expanded over the last year even as a company, how big they've gotten in all these different areas of development stuff. So it was cool to see that they were all in there working in their dark little holes like good programmers should be. Because I see all these other game studios. You ever notice when you watch a game studio tour on video, everybody's like, it's all bright. Everybody's there. Hey, well, how you doing? And stuff. These guys are like seriously into their work, working heads down, doing stuff. And they're like, hey, sorry to interrupt you, but we're going to talk to you a minute about
I do recall that when they did the tour of the LA office, I think it was, they're walking around, they're showing off all the flashy offices and all that.
Yeah.
And they walk back to the programmers area, and it looks like an industrial scene
Yep.
out of some 90s rock music video. It's bare brick walls, no
Yep.
windows, guys wedged between the pillars. And all
Yep.
that.
And-
I
but that's
enjoyed
the way it
seeing
is.
all the beverages that they had pile up in the middle of the floor on that
Yeah.
first ground. Like,
I thought-
if you need
No
something to drink,
refrigerator?
it's right there.
It looked like a disaster relief fund to come in there. It's like, we got to keep these guys hydrated.
Must keep working.
Yeah, because when you're not on camera, we have them chained to these desks, so it's like we have to hydrate them properly, or else there's big
Emergency
trouble.
supply drop off every
You know.
day. You don't need to refrigerate it.
Right,
There you
basic
go.
necessities
Yeah,
are met. Just get
parachute
the
drop
state
on top of the building. Just bring them down. We can't let them out of the building. If they go out to get their own coffee, we'll never see them again. We haven't let them see daylight in 6 weeks. It'd be good. I think it's. I think it was really impressive there. But we
So-
also go ahead.
I was going to say, with what we learned about Founding 42 UK this week, has it changed your guys' view on whether or not Squadron 42 could be released at the end of the year?
Slightly. I still hold out hope.
See, I was
Yeah,
more
mostly.
in the category of first quarter 2017, maybe second quarter 2017. But after seeing how far along they are in the Bengal, as well as just the literal size and the amount of people working on Squadron 42, I have a feeling that they could pull it off. I mean, he did literally say during the Bengal reveal that we're trying to get this finished in 3 months, which would put it right at release time. They want it ready to go by October.
They haven't said they're gonna. They haven't said it. They're pushing it back. So I think that they would know they couldn't make it by now and say something if that was
Yeah.
going to
Well,
happen.
but in the past we've run into those situations where Chris has waited till the last minute to tell us it's being pushed back because the hope that they can make it. So that's not necessarily a good indicator. But I do think the lack of communication on it is more of a better indicator than more information. They did that with Star Marine when they were stalling on Star Marine. They started putting out every little tidbit they could on it. And then suddenly it just went quiet. And then it was 2 or 3 weeks later. It's like, well, we're not sure when.
Well,
Yeah, but they were so far back in production. I mean, that they didn't have the size. They didn't have these offices. They didn't have this number of employees, and I don't know. They've really been cranking out real hard these last couple of months. This last year.
Well, they have staff.
I mean,
Let's be honest. Last
yeah.
year, they didn't have half this amount of staff, guys. I mean, it's like the company, this is one thing I really believe Disco's really honest about. When he talks about everything, you see, we're still building the company. Now they have the company. They're all hands on deck ahead. I really still am going to stick to my guns, even though I know I'm probably bluntly wrong. I still say Squadron 42 is either going to get released or at least announced for release at CitizenCon, and they're going to give a hard date. I really believe that. I think it's going to be this year, and I think they're going to talk about that at CitizenCon. That's going to be their big, blam, here it is, and then we're going to be full head on the PU from there, because all these other guys they've hired will shift gears from that game over to the PU, and I think they're already peeling off layers as people get done with aspects of Squadron 42. And that's why we're seeing things start to come out faster and faster on the PU side, because as they get done with certain assets that they don't need for Squadron 42, they're able to shift them back.
Well, it did say in the monthly report that personnel in the UK, I don't remember if it was 2 or 3 people, maybe a couple more, have shifted over, and they're now starting to work on features that are foundational to Stanton's system and the progress leading into 2.7. So they're actually, they already have people working on 2.7, and we haven't even hit 2.5 PTU yet.
Well, and that's how that works. You know, when they start talking about a release for a patch, for them, that means they have been internally testing at least some aspects of that patch for a while and are ready to push it out in some sort of cohesive form for us to start testing as one product. Whereas they might have, you know, they might have been testing parts of it internally for a while. The Starfare is a great example of that. We heard them about them flying the Starfare in some form long before we ever saw an in-game shot of it.
Months ago.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and we hear about them flying the Idris 6 months ago. I mean, they're testing these things. Are they ready for us to play with? No. By any means, no. Or do we have the environment to test some of these things on? These guys are testing not only the ship's assets, mechanics, but they actually have, and they've said this several times, the complete universe. Like, or a complete star system, at least, of, you know, Stanton is like, they're test betting it. Is it functional for us to be in? No. But they have more than what we just do with Crusader. So that's why they keep testing and expanding and doing different things than that. So that's important to always remember.
I feel like that's why we always feel like there's not much, because we're only, you know, estimating by like what we see in front of us. We only have, you know, Port Olisar. We have no clue like what's going on. So like, I mean, to see like what was on that whiteboard and stuff like that, we're like, oh, that's awesome. To hear him say like, oh yeah, and we're also working on 15 capital ships right now. It's like, oh, you're working on that now,
right?
I didn't like I knew that I was in the lore. I knew that was like these are things that are coming. We got told this like in 2013, 2012.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was being worked on right now.
Just bear in mind that some of those capital ships have got to be Vandal capital ships, and for them to be release ready, we don't have to ever see inside most of them.
Yeah,
so release ready for one of those Vandal ships could literally just be the exterior with functional turrets or whatever. If it's not a ship we have to board. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case because, as we've seen, they like to not only do everything as detailed as possible, but even the parts you can't see. You know, when you clip inside a ship, you can see writing on, you know, pipes that otherwise you would have no chance of ever seeing. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's something I think Zealous and I talked about earlier, and some of the other people in our Discord were talking about. When we see different things, even in animated or stills or anything like that, and a lot of the pushback on my idea of that Squadron 42 would come out this year or may even be announced this con's been like, well, they're not going to have this stuff ready. Well, some of this stuff, they only have to have set pieces. They don't have to be flyable ships to be ready for Squadron 42. They could be levels. They could just be simple things like that.
They're talking about getting the Bengal flying when just a year or two ago, the Bengal was probably going to be just a set piece. Now they're talking about actually making that damn thing move.
Yep.
You know, and not just be something they program a path for it. So that's going to be really interesting to see. I mean, again, but that's, you know, they briefly made mention of it in their discussion or in the reveal of it, that it sounds like they are going to be trying to stream it in much like they would a procedural planet, so that, you know, in theory, it's never going to be fully loaded because of the size. It doesn't have to be, you know, visually fully loaded. It's the same, but at the same time, they can easily do it. I mean, it's 1 kilometer long that we know of, and right now the space station, the terraformers, are 2 kilometers long. You know, so they could easily put it in there.
And not only saying that, I mean, the timeline for them to have to make it flyable is, I mean, they have lots of time to do that, because in the actual game, I don't think you're going to be flying the Bengal, and if you did, it'd probably be more of a on-rails thing for the actual single-player campaign, whereas the only place that I've even ever heard of the Bengal in the Persistent universe was almost like a station or a level that you conquer, because you don't actually buy the Bengal. The Bengal is not something you purchase as an individual player known, but it is like either a derelict or an occupied ship that you could conquer, and then your org could have the Bengal until somebody took it back from you. So it'd be like a point of contention, but nothing, nothing in the universe where you'd have like 50 Bengals because everybody dropped 10 grand each to buy one.
And I've seen this confusion out there before, you know, like what Scar's saying right now, that it was promised that it would be flyable back in 2013. It was never promised that the Bengal would be flyable. It was something they wanted to do, but what it was promised was that we would have the ability to control one. And that goes back to that whole, when people say control, what do they mean? Some people mean you can control a planet. That means you can own a planet. No, you can't own it, but you can physically take possession of it and keep other people away from it. Now they're saying more than that. Now they're saying that it looks like they can get the damn thing to fly, and that's awesome.
Yep.
but it was never a guarantee that we as players could take it out and fly it.
Yeah.
That maybe it would move around, but it could have been just a pre-programmed path that it follows, like any other set piece can do.
And you have to realize everything's scaled up, guys, a lot. I mean, this what the Bengal now is say that it can occupy. I mean, if you haul it out the whole inside of the Bengal, what they've said is you could hold 2.5 Idrises inside.
That's insane.
Yeah,
think about that. Like, just let that sink
people
in.
on it. Idris.
That's in the hangar.
Yeah.
In the hangar you could fit one Idris. Just the whole overall size of it, you could fit 2.5 Idrises in it if it was just gutted. It was just a shell. Yeah, that's just how big it is. They describe the Carrack the same way. They do that a lot. Like, to give us frame of reference, when they first described the Carrack, they said you could fit 2 Connies inside this thing.
Eric, do you remember when the racing map first came out and they had the shell of the Bengal sitting way off in the distance on the edge of the map? I used to fly my M50 through that thing all the time, and it would take at least 15 seconds to get.
And they took it out when they realized we figured out how to break free from the constraints and get up there and look at it.
We're showing images of the Bengal from ATV right now.
So sexy. Do you have the video footage for that
I do
from
have the video
ATV?
footage. There's a couple things I want to point out on the stills here too. If you look at like the screen, I know you guys are everybody watching that's on the show with me is 30 seconds away if they're watching the stream. If you look on top here, on the runway, and this is something I didn't notice till I watched the stills. those are all either Gladiuses on there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Those are Gladii, yeah.
Yeah, on the runway on top of the thing. There's 4 of them right there.
And look at the size of those turrets.
And there's also
a
Vanguard sitting in the entryway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at those turrets on the side compared to the Gladii. Yeah. Those turrets are bigger than a damn Gladius is.
Well, and you can see there's 4 of the large pod that I have to assume are man turrets, and then I assume the 2 other smaller turrets in the middle there, right? Because those are probably auto turrets that we're seeing.
Yeah. Probably point defense, anti-missile batteries, that kind of thing.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, exactly. I think we're seeing.
If you look further back by the entrance, where they actually launch from, there's 2 sets of unmanned missile turrets on either side of those doors.
See if we got I think this image will show that what you're talking about there. Got to wait the delay, but it'll come up there. Yeah, you see the turret batteries there, as well as along either side you see additional man turrets.
Mm-hmm. And I also wonder, because of the sheer size of those manned turrets, could they potentially could we be looking at 2-man turrets? And if so, what would be the secondary position?
Well,
would it be like a sensor operator?
Very likely. That was my thought, was that they're more like artillery pieces than rapid fire turrets. That you would take a firing solution and fire based on that solution, which would be more in line with large ship combat, because these things aren't going to be outmaneuvering each other. You put a Bengal up against a King ship or whatever the equivalent of the Vandal is, they're not going to be sitting there and trying to dodge around each other. It's going to be all about getting the best firing solution for pinpoint shots to where you want to hit.
I'm also thinking about E-War counter-strikes, point targets and the like, because, I mean, it's got a Vanguard sitting in that launch bay right there. What if you've got Vanguard Sentinels that are up against this thing? You need something that's going to counter whatever they're attempting. So potentially you could have someone on actual guns in the turret and a secondary person conducting some form of E-War at a point-and-click sort of technique. Which would be really interesting.
Another thought is that you have one person firing, and maybe they're the secondary person or even the tertiary person inside that turret is responsible for shielding over on that side of the ship, because we're talking about multiple shield generators to protect different aspects of hull and stuff like that. So maybe you have to like divert shields around a plane instead of around a physical ship. Maybe you have like a set of 8 shields around this one area of there, and you have to.
I would just like to interject really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Read your damn mail. Jesus Christ. You have 12,900 unread messages.
I know. I get a lot of mail. I get a lot of mail. You should see how much actual mail there is in there. Some of that's junk.
Yeah, it's all just porn spam. I told you to use a different email.
No, same email. It's too inconvenient to click on their email. But I'd like to go ahead.
I've got a question about the communications on board a ship like this, and if there's 90 turrets, right? Yeah. How does the communication work with that? Like, is it sectioned off by the turret gunners are communicating with turret gunners and a communications officer, or is it front part of the ship versus back part? How does that work?
They're probably going to have a section that they're responsible for defending, and anything that comes in that area, they take out. You're not going to be able to say, "Oh, do you want to take this one, Bob?" No, you take it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, it's in your area. You shoot at it.
Got it. Okay, so it'll be
you're going to have
sectioned off.
100 ships attacking this thing and doing any damage.
Yeah, everybody would have their own fields of fire, and they would have a fire control officer who coordinates that. In like you said, like a communications room, their job is also to relay to these various fields of fire. Coming into your sector is ship identified as whatever. Turret, whatever your job is to fire on this ship, or your job is to fire on the bridge of that ship, while turret, whatever your job is to fire on the engines, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Would it make sense if there was a two-man turret? Would it make sense for that second person to be partly responsible for the communications?
Yeah.
So the turret gunner could just focus on.
That's how artillery crews work. Yeah, you've got a fire control officer. You've got people who are at the front. Either at the front lines or up in aircraft or whatever, reporting back positions and impacts and whatnot. And then that goes through whoever's the officer in charge or the NCO in charge of the actual gun, then relays the information from those people to his gun people. Okay, we need you to rotate at a certain amount of degrees, swap out HE for AP, et cetera, and fire on my mark, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that's amongst like organized people. But the mess that's actually going to happen is going to be great.
The first people that I would think you'd have to be organized to take this ship to begin with, because let's say you're a misnomer band of like 30, 40 pirates or something like that, and you're a small org, and you come upon the Bengal and you think you're going to take it over. I don't think you're going to be able to take this ship. I really don't think, because the amount of crew that would have to inhabit the ship to take it over and even manage it is going to be ridiculous. I mean, they talk in the Idris that to man every basic station, not even redundancy, everything, you need, 30-some people? 35 people?
Yeah, I would guess just manning this ship, just manning the primary functions, you're looking at probably 200 to 300 people. Then you got your pilots, at least one pilot per plane, 2 pilots for the big planes. You got 4 or more for the retaliators and whatnot. Then you've got a ground crew. And a ground crew is going to be 2 or 3 per plane as well. So yeah, you're probably looking at 1,000 people easily in there.
Yeah,
easily.
I mean, go ahead.
Sorry, I want to pick up on Sid's comment he made a minute ago. He says the front of the ship and the back of the ship are in different instances, and that's technically not true, Sid. It's 2 separate zones.
Yeah.
The zones are within the same instance, but what happens in one zone and what happens in another zone are handled by the server and computer systems as 2 separate instances, but those 2 instances are part of one larger instance, and so they directly affect one another. So you're essentially within the same exact instance.
But for the purpose of you as an individual walking the length of the ship, it's very likely that, if you were to start the aft and make your way forward, you would pass through several instances of several groups of people. If in theory this thing was manned, like say there's 100 real people and another 900 NPCs on there, as you're walking through it, you're going to encounter different groups of those real people. If the instance manager works the way they hope it will, fingers crossed. But that's the idea behind it, and that's how it prevents it from overloading everybody else. Because if I'm outside of that ship flying around it, I don't want to see all 1,000 people in that sucker, because I'm going to be doing negative something frames per second. I'm going to be traveling backwards.
And the other challenge, let's say you're an actual organization like the size we're talking about, and you're trying to hold something like this. The comm system is going to be chaos. And this is where I have my doubts about them entering a VoIP type system in game that's going to support this type of operation. I mean, it could be done. But is it worth stressing the net code to try to do that on top of everything else? I don't know, because what we've always done in larger fleets in EVE, and I know like Scartung and some of the other guys are familiar with this, you break them off into sections in like a team speak, to where like what Sophie was asking about with firing control and all that. If you have a fire team in one pod, you'd have one person that would be talking to the other 2 people or 1 person inside that turret, or maybe 5, who knows. And then they would communicate directly with the bridge. The bridge is getting communication from command, so you have to have multiple hotkeys set up to talk to these different groups, so you don't get so much channel garbage. You only want immediate conversation with your squad, and you want the commanders or squad leaders would have overall command and control and communication with the actual bridge. And that's why you need all the. If you ever seen any of the old shots of the bridge, they have so many seats, and everybody's like, "Well, what are these seats for?" 95% of that is for communication, because you have to have different people communicate to the bridge and talk to all these different fire teams, the flight crew, what would be the tower, the reload, the maintenance, the ship prep guys. I mean, there's so much stuff there.
But it's actually even more than that and goes beyond the bridge, because you've got, like you're saying, the people down in the positions who are making basic communications for the actions. Then you've got the immediate dispatch responders who transmit that information to a secondary hub. That secondary hub brings in a bunch of those communications and forwards that up to the bridge. But on the bridge, like you're saying, there's only one person who gets one set of information. There are many people for each individual department. It's a very
absolutely.
There's usually only 5 voices at most on a radio channel at any given time, if it's actually simulating proper military radio.
Yeah, they're going to have to limit it, or we'll just get lag, and you'll have a voice chat with no game movement.
Well, and you know what happens in the military today, right now, is there is still lag time between communications from your average ground unit to whoever's in charge, and but that lag time is caused by those layers, and it's for a good purpose. You know, if I was out on a convoy as a team leader on a truck, there was 3 people on my team. Those are the guys I communicated with directly the most. But as the team leader, I also had another channel. I basically just push a button and start talking to it. They would talk to my convoy leader and all the other team leaders, and they could hear that. The convoy leader's job was then to relay that back to HQ, my battalion HQ. My battalion HQ then, if that information was considered viable to go up above them, would then relay that up to division and so on, all the way up to even the theater-wide command if necessary. And that could take anywhere between 1 minute to 1 hour to get all the way up that high, depending on the severity, depending on whether or not the guy, the one guy at the one station was getting coffee, all that stuff, and then for them to get back to us as well.
And then it also depends on priority calls, classifications, and so on and so forth.
That happens on something like this. I mean, this is an aircraft carrier. This is a small aircraft carrier size-wise. That happens on aircraft carriers too. I mean, you're the commander of your aircraft carrier has no idea other than the general gist of it. What's the day-to-day life of his crew members? What they're doing, and if everything's going right, he should never know. It's when the only time when he knows that stuff is when things are going horribly wrong in one way or another. Either they're in battle or that crew member is a real fuck up. Those are the only 2 ways.
Well, like if you look at this shot here where you see like the Retaliator coming up out of the lower
this is amazing.
So
this is my favorite.
Yeah, but if you look at other sections, like you see all those windows up above where the Retaliator's coming up, that's what I consider would be like your tower, your flight control, because you have to have radio operators to talk to each crew or each section or each squadron of fighters, and there's 2 or 3 of them. You see another set of windows over there, because there's no way, like exactly what Nighthawk was saying, one guy's probably going to talk to maybe 1 to 5 ships. There are maybe fighters out there. And then you have to think of the bigger picture, that the towers or the flight crews, they're totally autonomous of the ship, so they're trying to manage their own ship, like the Retaliator, to survive out there and do their job. And then the people actually communicating from these aircraft control towers, if you will, have to talk to the bridge and relay what exactly is happening while the fighter's protecting the ship. So they might have no idea that what's happening inside the ship, like if it's blowing up or what. They have to focus on what their job is. So many different aspects going on here. I just don't see, even with instancing and stuff, having a voice command system developed internally in the game that's going to support all that. I think we're going to see a lot of heavily investment in TeamSpeak again. At least initially.
I think those are the timeshare condominiums up there on the side. I think
are they?
What those are.
They might be.
Yeah. I think those are just observation windows. It's definitely not control. Control would usually be something that's propped out away, so it has...
Actually, where that little bit of red light in the center is very likely a command and control station.
Possibly.
Scroll back up there, you see that little red glow?
Yeah, and there's a second one on the left, too.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Almost right in between them.
And then at some point, they're going to have a secondary location for ground control communications and local flight patterns, that kind of thing. This tower that you're looking for is literally just going to be in charge of takeoff and landing, what's flying, nothing more. Everything that's going on the ground goes to a secondary office that then talks to the tower. This is what I used to do for a living in the military, and I cannot wait to do it again in Star Citizen.
That's gonna be fun.
It's so good.
I, for a while there, I worked as battalion comms for a while, and it was fun because we had 2 or 3 guys working. I worked the night shift. We have 2 or 3 guys working the night shift. We each had a computer, or usually we had 2 computers plus the radio comms, and that's all it was the people that were good at it. They were good. They could get a message, and they knew exactly, like instinctively, who that needs to be relayed onto, where it needs to be put up on the board, where it needs to be put on the map, all that stuff. And those guys were literally lifesavers. They were worth their weight in gold.
That was me. That's what I did.
Yeah, like I said, I did that for a while, and that wasn't my thing. I was great at interpreting the data, but I was not great at on the fly relaying it to the proper people. And the people that were, it was amazing to watch them do it.
I'm just so impressed with like even all these different aspects, even the top down from behind the bridge. Like I look and I'm like, I don't know all these panels are for back here, but I'm sure they have some intricate purpose for everything behind the bridge. So
actually,
this looks like missile bays
underneath that outcropping. Those look like they could. I was going to say either missile bays or potentially hatches for escape pods.
Yeah.
Could those
I
be
can see
escape
that.
pods for
That's
the
a good
command?
call. Escape pods. Yep. I can see that.
Yeah, I don't see what else would be escape pod but those, and that's not very many escape pods.
Well,
if you got 1,000 people there.
Well, those are huge. Those are probably huge escape pods.
They could be. They're probably you fit like 20 people in like one lifeboat instead of like a little pod like what we're thinking of Starfare. How about the motors, right?
Saber.
Those engines are
Baby Saber.
Yeah, I know. It's like think of if you like accidentally flew the Saber in the fight path of that engine. It's like insta-pop.
It would just
it's amazing.
chew it up, spit it out.
Yeah, I can't wait to.
Those engines are huge, but what's next to those engines is even huger.
I know. That's what you'll see in like the screen here. That's why I was saying in the beginning. It's like the Bengal carrier is definitely a boy. It has a large gun.
Oh my God! Look at that thing.
I know it's crazy.
Insanity.
There's even a better shot of it somewhere around here.
Am I wrong? Does that not look like a giant laser cannon?
I think it's probably another railgun. Railguns seem to be the preferred big guns. Like for example, the Retribution is basically just one big ass railgun with living quarters on the side. So I'm betting that's multiple railguns is what you're looking at, or it is the 2 accelerating rails on either side of a railgun for a massive projectile. Projectile
like it fires
looks
like a whole field beam like thing at it.
It's got multiple guns down there. It looks like on that picture.
Yeah, or it could be like I said, it could be the separate rails. The early concepts of the Retribution had separate rails on either side that looked originally like they were guns, but they were actually the accelerator rails. And that was big enough to launch. The early concepts was big enough to launch an Idris between it, and this looks big enough that you could probably fit an Idris in there too, and just turn that into your weapons.
When he said that it was slightly smaller than an Idris, I was just blown away. I had to look at that again.
Yeah, for the gun. That's insane.
Oh my God.
Yeah, here's some more good screens of the launch pad or the launch runway there inside the thing. And you can see it actually raises ships from either side of the actual runway inside the ship.
Yeah, and they actually showed in the video the ships actually lifting up. Like they've got that worked in. My favorite part of the video, though, is the launch, this is where that stills from, is right before the launch of the Gladius.
That was amazing. Yes, I agree with you, Eric. That was incredible to see. That stopped a lot of people, I think.
But
Can we watch it, Mitt?
Sorry. Sure.
Yeah, let's just watch the video.
Yes.
Let's see.
Hang on, I gotta go get my baby.
Built it out
I don't know
like a
where it
carrier.
I
You don't know where it
there.
is.
Where's my link for it? Let me find it. Oh. I might have it on my private video watcher thing, so hang on a second.
Over here you can
So question while we're waiting,
I gotta clear out all the porn. This is surrounded by
above the guns, that image that you were just showing, there is a circular I don't know what you call it. It looks like it might be control rooms that are in a circular state on top of that gun.
26 minutes is where it starts, like 25, 26 minutes in.
Okay. Is that just a rotational piece for the gun? Or is that would that be a place where people are communicating and operating?
In the actual gun here on the profile right here? Oh, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah,
that might be where the gun crew for that gun sits, and it rotates, I bet, because it looks something like
storage too.
You know, on the Crucible, I picture like that module being like the Crucible where it pivots. It's a rotational.
Right.
Yeah, think about the size of that gun. It's very likely that is like the crew running it. You know,
dedicated
like
just
a couple dozen people down there.
That's a good observation, Soph. I like that. That's pretty cool.
It also looks like it would be a great place to take a date for dinner too.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a restaurant in Kansas City called Skies, and it actually is a rotational restaurant that looks a lot like that. Actually,
we have that. We have that in the Space Needle up in here in Washington State.
Oh, the Space Needle. Yeah. It's not nearly like Skies. Come on, it's like
well, the only people that go there are you tourists, not the rest of us. We don't go there.
Us tourists usually don't go to Seattle. Just so you know. All right, let's bring it.
Don't at least.
All right, you said 24 in. Let's get in there. There we go. Right about in here.
And the UI team with MobyGlass and take a look at some of the apps there.
So what we've been working on recently over the course of the past couple.
Oh, that's the
on the web
MobyGlass
navigation hierarchy.
We'll go back to that. We'll go back to that. Let's
just as a little highlight for you guys, we're going to take a brief look at the Bengal. It's the first ship that Chris revealed for Squadron 42. It's a big beast. We've done extensive work on the hangar and the exterior. To give you an idea of the scale of the Bengal, you can fit an Idris inside of the
There's a blue line
hangar,
across it.
pretty much. You can't quite
kill
fly
the
it
blue
in,
line,
but
please. It's been there for like
close.
10 minutes.
So it's a huge undertaking. It requires a lot of investigation into different lighting techniques, different construction techniques, different meshing techniques.
It looked like it had vertical landing bays on the front.
It's just one big bowl of suit that we need to work out.
Yeah, it did look like there was a separate hangar on the
memory,
front in general.
make it render,
and I love that they confirmed there's a maintenance
game,
deck below the flight deck.
That's the challenge that
cool.
we're approaching here. So in total in the Bengal, and this isn't just a hangar, we've got a total of 7 artists.
Yeah, this definitely looks like they took their cues from actual aircraft carriers as well as like Battlestar Galactica.
Before
combination of
we
those
were kind of R&Ding how we're going to approach it.
Somebody brought up those triangles on the side of the ship might actually be launch tubes as well.
Who's been heading up the hangar process for us. We've got Ian, who's been working with Jay.
Imagine running around there
as well.
Good job, Nate.
The bridge, and then we go to exterior.
Running around that thing is going to be tiring.
Is another challenge in itself.
So
we've got Phil, our senior.
That's why I love it whenever you see somebody ask, "Can I fly a
wait, I didn't even see that before."
And when you approach the
Paris,
we've got Ian, who's been
You'll see it here in 30 seconds. Like
we've got Robin as well.
They show the engineering thing, but they show that front bay opening up. You know, like
it's another challenge in itself. So we've got Phil, our senior.
Just running off the side like no big deal.
So give you an idea of the quality.
I love it when people say, you know, they ask, "Can I fly the big ship by myself?" Do you realize what it would take you to just fire up the engine? You know, all right, now it's time to turn on the engine. I'm going to sprint to the back.
Model everything up to a certain extent.
Not only do you have the runway on top, you could actually come out of the bottom, like where the doors open down there,
on massive volumes,
right?
And make the overall
because the front of the ship opens.
Work with those construction.
I totally
techniques.
forgot about that.
And as you can see from this kind of brief preview of the exterior,
more.
It's going along really well. All the guys are up for the challenge. It's when we started on it, it was just.
So we're just looking at the small upper runway with these images. The bottom has the major.
The exterior alone has
runway
like
where the front nose opens up.
Turrets and missiles.
That's probably I would imagine that it's set up so that the lower one is primarily for fighters and interceptors for the cap. And the top one is for the bombers because you saw the bombers coming up, as well as probably for the alert fighters. The ones, that's those 6 we saw lined up on the side.
Kind of components.
So
they're the alert fighters. They're ready. They're the quick reaction force.
A significant amount of.
If you look at some of the older images, we always saw everything from the bottom, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is the upper launch bay, and then it opens up the nose out the front.
Mm-hmm.
So the lower bay still opens because you can see them. There they go.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
You see, this is one of those areas that I love.
Watch!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here it goes.
I love that.
Ah!
This is one of those areas where I love that the fog bug, the lighting thing that Mitauchi loves to talk about, still exists because it looks like this ship is so damn big it's got its own atmosphere. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
but this is where it's appropriate.
Technically, it does.
Well, that's just built into the CryEngine. That's the way they do the atmosphere.
Yeah. It's
okay
because
with
it's so. Yeah, in this ship it works. In the Vanguard, not so much.
No, not in the Vanguard. It's like, what?
So I got a question about this ship. I don't know enough about it, so I'm going to ask you guys. The pieces that are projecting on the outside off of it that are long, pointy pieces.
Sensor arrays, yeah.
Sensor?
Yeah.
Okay, it's for
Antenna
sensor.
foils.
The ones that project outward, from what we learned from the Carrack, those are actually jump point. I don't know, not mappers, but they're kind of like they're curve feelers for jump points. Is what they are. Yeah. If the jump point is smaller than those ones, the ship can't go through it when they're extended.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Curve feelers, you couldn't do
whiskers.
that. You do that digitally with sensors.
Well, yeah, but they do it because it looks cool.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is because it looks cool, or hey, it's more fun that way. You know,
it makes the ship look scarier, I think.
I agree. So, I don't know. We all agree the Bengal's awesome. I can't wait to see more about it. I hope they make it even just a level in some version of the alpha where we could run through it, even do an FPS. I think that'd be fun. Regardless,
just to play around on it, yeah.
Just to play around and explore it. Just I can't wait for that, much less anything else. So that's going to be cool. Let's.
Well, they did say during that video they're trying to get it done in the next 3 months. So at the very least, it sounds like maybe they want to debut the thing at CitizenCon, which that would blow away last year's debut of the Moro Tour if it was the Moro Tour of the Bengal. That would be the entire CitizenCon, though.
Well, and I mean, let's be honest. Even a actual run around of the Idris would be cool because the Moro Tour is basically on rails, right? You're following as a. Even though it's not, the whole ship wasn't done, but they could show what they could walk through based on Squadron 42 for that. I think to be able to walk around or fly outside the complete Idris now would be amazing. So,
Nighthawk, Cyberwolf says you and Lady Nighthawk better watch out. Your baby Hawk might take your guys' job.
Right. That's right. Okay, so let's next talk about the MobyGlass updates because I'm super hyped about that. Even though the Bengal's amazing and I'm all about the big ship thing, I know I'm not going to have my hands on anything like that for a long time or be able to see it. The MobyGlass is something that will probably be a little, I guess using the word immediate might be a little, I don't know, over the top. But yeah, it's really cool stuff. Soon, TM. It should be soon,
0153.
So they're going through here. We'll watch a little video on it. I'm so impressed with like the changes that they have here for the MobyGlass, where you have actual the star map type stuff, updating that in this type of format. It's amazing. So that way you can look at navigation.
It's also on your heads up on your ships too, where you get it. Where you get
They're showing all the modifications on radar, all that stuff, the different nav units in the different types of ships. It looks so good.
These are the possible variations.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very similar to what Zane was showing off last year. So it sounds like he's kind of nailed in the look he wants, and he's been given the go-ahead to do it. So we had something very similar. It wasn't quite as 3D last year, but
now this in replacement of the holo table we had, I'm happy with. Now I get the whole,
I'm sort of happy with it. There's no data there. That's my problem.
I don't know what's below there. Isn't there more data on the actual unit below there under the components?
Yeah, but if it's just filler, if it's just filler text, like this, like what you see in the store, that doesn't help me anything. What I want to know is the more important information about it, as well as, like somebody else said, comparisons to what other things are out there. That would be a great thing to have, and something that just makes sense. Like if you've got 3 different size 1 guns in your inventory and you click on one, it should automatically, this is the 29th century. The computer should be able to bring up the stats on the other 2 and say, this, compare and contrast, this is what they have, what do you need?
Well, maybe I'm thinking with this type of interface that we have frozen here on the screen, I think you'll be able to do that, though, right? Because right now it'll show the component that's fitted to the ship, but it has a components button, right, where you could change out that component. It has the individual stats for the gun, and then if you look at the ship itself, it has stats for the ship. I would think when you highlight different ones, it would show different stat changes on your ship based on your selection of the item component, right?
I think that's what those numbers are, right? Because
that's what
I'm thinking. Yeah, I mean, ever since we lost the holo table, we've lost the ability to see well, what's the projectile speed? How fast is what's weapon fire at? How much damage per second?
Yeah.
Where are those numbers at? We don't have that right now.
And I agree with Eric. It's probably just filler data right now, but I could see where this would work, right? Because it would, this type of interface, you can hover over different types of components, swap and change those out, because you have the component button there where it's like, okay, I'll go to my radar. Well, let's rotate through all the different types of, power driver I have, or the different types of, just weapon mods or anything like that. The shields, like, okay, if I put these shields on, how much power does my ship have now versus when I didn't have this shield set, or if I go with a smaller shield set on here. I think this type of interface will allow you to do that, because the biggest challenge I had with the holotail before, and most people did, is couldn't see shit. There's a glowing white orb light of everything, and you had to spin a ship. You couldn't block anything on there. This is so much more intuitive, and I like
there is a downside to that, though. And I saw several people bring it up. They're still using basically solid glowing colors. They're not using like a black outline, because that doesn't look good in 3D. But without that black outline, you put this up against a bright spot, you're going to run into that same problem where you can't see shit.
Yeah, that's really frustrating too. That's a good point, Eric.
I think they're going to play on the whole fact everything's darker, because it's on an actual table, it looks like, rather than a MobyGlass.
So what you're saying, Mitauchi, is you like the lighting on this.
Let's talk about the lighting.
I will rephrase that. I like the lack of lighting that makes it glow, so therefore it's not glowing out. So the lack of lighting is nice. I like the little halos and stuff there, and all the blue glow, so you can see through the ship, but it's not overpowering.
They should let us change the color to what we want too.
Oh yeah, just why not? Sliders.
And that's something Zane has said for a long time that he's been working on, is the ability for us to use like RGB sliders, basically to change the colors on all the HUDs. So I would hope that in designing this new HUD, he is factoring that in from the start. This new setup, the ability to change those things.
Now here's the MobyGlass.
Have everything be the same color. Everything just kind of blurs together and gets lost. Nothing stands out.
I think this is where both you, Eric, and Stout, you're talking about, like on the actual MobyGlass that I see here, I could see that happening, right? Because this is in a dark hallway, it's illuminated well, but the minute that you get into light or anything like that, since it is like a three-dimensional hologram come off, you won't be able to see anything. Say you're on a planet surface would probably be the best example.
See, I'm a fan of there's a reason why it was used for so long. The classic monochrome green. It's because it shows up against just about any type of backdrop. There's a reason why it was used for so long. I'm a fan of that. I loved it for a while there. That was the color in the Gladius for everything.
Yeah.
If you remember, like all the gun sights and everything, and it stood out so well. And people actually complained that they didn't have it in their ships. And what happened? It disappeared like the next patch. It was like, no, don't take it away from us.
They took it away instead of adding it to other people. It was much easier to turn it off for the one chip.
But I think it was an accident that it appeared in the Gladius in the first place, because there was also that point in time there where every time you spawned, your HUD would be a different color. I don't know if you guys remember that, but you could get blue, orange, green, and sometimes red. Yep. And it was like every time you respawned in the middle of a match, suddenly you have a HUD that you can no longer see, because red in Dying Star is worse than blue in Broken Moon. You couldn't see anything.
Absolutely. I like, and I know a lot of this is just filler stuff, but I find it interesting. If you look at this MobyGlass, not only is it sexy, I love it because it's not flat. It's nice there. Aside from the possible lighting issues when you're in a bright environment, because on a planet side or something, I think this would get blown out on a sunny day. You wouldn't be able to see anything. The suit status stuff is pretty interesting to me. It's like, so you actually have suit statuses. Do you think they're going to have like a repair for your suit eventually? Because they're talking, like on there, I see stuff like integrity, battery capacity, CPU on your actual suit status.
Sure.
Like, that's pretty interesting. I was like, that's cool.
See, Zim, I would love that, an opacity slider. I would love that, because I'd set that up. I'd never have it opaque. I'd never have it translucent. I mean, it'd be 100% opaque for me every time. I don't care if I'm blocking what's in front of me to look at something on the screen.
You need to be able to read it. You need to be able to read it. This is too much background coming through.
There you go. Cyberwolf's right. Mitauchi's really a vampire guy and hates sliding.
But yes, I'm absolutely certain that suit repair is going to be part of the overall repair mechanics, and very likely we might see that debut before we see ship repair debut. And, another one of their ways of testing things out is
That's a good point.
That is
just for the purpose, and I can't wait to see it just for the purposes of on Captain Richard's stream. One of the first things you're going to see is some guy kneeling in front of Captain Richard's crotch, repairing him with something
with a monkey wrench.
Yeah, just
sockets that ear. Crank. There you go. I think that one of the other things I'd like to see is we talked before, and it's been several weeks ago, where they have the tablet interfaces. What a better spin-off tablet interface to have all the buttons you see on the left and right lower on the MobyGlass for a separate touchscreen tablet or something, so you could actually have an interface set up where you could touch those and do that in sliders. It's amazing.
I know Stoutman, I think Sophie, you use Rocket Power Grid too. I know Stoutman does. I don't know if Sophie uses it.
I've used it at times, but yeah, you probably could break that off. Some of that type of stuff
that would be a use I would find for the use that it's currently being used for, which is shield adjustments and things like that. It's still too much. It's too unwieldy for me compared to just voice attack. But for the MobyGlass, I would love to just have it set up off to the side when I want to access my MobyGlass. Instead of pressing F1 and using my mouse, I would reach over and start tapping the buttons.
Because the MobyGlass is somewhere where you wouldn't do it when you're in combat or when you're actually in an unsafe position. It's something more intuitive where you can check your message logs and everything we see here. So it's really cool. It's really cool. So let's go ahead and go through the rest of that real quick.
Have a good one, Athogen. Thanks a lot for coming by tonight.
Good night.
Yeah, and the star map interface, I like this too. So you can kind of plot your navigation. The object filters is kind of interesting.
Well, I've been begging for object filters for a long time. I'm so glad we're seeing at least the... I don't know if what we're seeing here is actually a test in-game or just concept overlaid in in-game screenshots.
I think it's mock-up, but to see this could go that way, where you have a galaxy map, you have a Stanton map, and then you have these things. I think they're on the right direction. I mean,
look. Here's the other thing I like is that there is a 2D and 3D switch. He's already planning for that too.
Yep.
No more forcing everything in 3D. Exactly. Again, what you're going to see happening though is this is going to work out well, and people are going to demand it to replace their in-ship HUDs. Because I would much rather have this versus the radar globe we have on most ships.
Yeah. Did you see the mock-ups in the beginning here that they had? Here, I'll go back. Where's the in-ship ones? And this is another thing here on the mock-up screen. Here, I'll freeze here for a second. You'll see. They're looking at the UI interface and how the panels move around and how you could adjust things and stuff. It looks like you could even customize your MobyGlass to base where you want your panels at and everything, or how that interface would work on a tablet and everything with all the different panel selections. It looks like he's building it so it basically could be a mobile app in my mind.
Well, that's the MobyGlass is going to be. It's going to be like an iPad where you just put different apps on it. You can move them around and stuff. So they're building it that way. Yeah. I think they're going to allow third-party apps also down there.
That's been the plan from the beginning. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's going to be customizable. Yeah.
Now this could be a map station if you think of on the Vanguard and stuff where you have that station that flips all the way up and it's a flat table. You could have this type of interfaces like this with the plotting the courses and all that right on those type of panels, and that way you could route your ship and get there. Here's what I was talking about, Eric. Imagine this replacing your actual radar HUD where you go into that navigational thing right there when you have hands on stick flying around. You're like, oh, well, let's do it right here. So they're thinking about remodeling it for not only multi-cruise ships.
But that's still something I like that less than I like the traditional 2D. What I want more than anything is an option to have that traditional 2D in just about any ship.
Look at the left over here on this panel. Look at it.
It's really beautiful.
3D, 2D buttons again.
Actually, it's really beautiful, this layout.
So it looks like they're already thinking about that type of option for you there, Eric, where it has a 2D button and a 3D selection.
And this actually answers a question that you've asked repeatedly, Mitauchi. Look at the ETA between Hurston to Magda, or to Magda from the current destination.
1.6 minutes,
1.6 minutes at Quantum Drive, and that's a short in-system jump.
That's going to be
great. The reality of up to 20 minutes to cross a system sounds very likely now.
Yep, absolutely. Because this is a small system. Yes, small system.
It's like 1/10 the size of Sol.
Well, you can even put it more than that. 1.6 minutes, and somebody could do the math if you want to at home. And this is all mock-up, so nothing's set in stone. But over here, this is, 500 million kilometers? It says right there. Yeah. So it tells you how far you're going and about how long. You could figure out your estimated time right there. And fuel requirements.
That's a lot of quantum fuel.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of fuel.
But it's also based on the ship you're in too, right? If this is just a fighter, which you assume it is, right, with the hands-on stick, its capacity of quantum fuel is going to be a lot less than, let's say, it's an Idris and it uses like this much of that fuel bay, you know, so it's like a tiny inch. This is probably going to take majority of a fighter's quantum fuel capacity because it doesn't have a number requirement, just how much of your quantum fuel in your small ship is this going to use to do that, which makes sense.
And this is all theoretical. Bear in mind, these are all concepts, and I want to state that because I'm not sure if anyone else picked up on it, but the ship model that they used on these maps is, in fact, an Idris.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can anybody tell on the far right where it says bookmark right above that, the paragraphs? I can't.
Threat level.
What's the language? Is this
no, text is lorem? It's lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum is it's an old joke about filler text.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually
it's nonsense. It's garbage text. Yeah,
it's not garbage. It actually is something, and I used to actually know the full length of it, but
we just cut and pasted to Phil to show data.
Yeah, it started. I want to say it was Microsoft, the original Microsoft Word, that started using lorem ipsum as a filler text, and it's just become a joke everywhere for it.
Okay.
It's what you put when the text doesn't matter, and you don't want the text to distract from what you're doing.
I wonder if you can get on Facebook and then maybe on your MobyGlass, maybe they'll have a Facebook button you could add.
Jock Itch is like, can I go to Facebook and can I go to Pornhub? That's all I want to know right now, guys.
Yeah, if I can't do that, then I'm out.
This app is worthless.
Yeah.
Derived from the Latin delorium ipsum, translated pain itself. Delorium ipsum.
Yeah, the full thing is God, where did it come from? Lorem ipsum. I used to know all that.
Galar said, Amit.
I think publishing companies have been using that for years.
Yeah, classical Latin literature.
Did you see the watch sitting in front of him?
The Extremes of Good and Evil. That's where it's from, by Cicero.
Sweet. There's a big watch that maybe he drew some inspiration from. It's right in front of his workspace. In this shot, you can't see it.
Oh yeah,
Sergeant Jock Itch, when you grow up and become a big boy, I'll tell you all about it.
There you go. It's rated 18, not 21. I think some of the sites that Jock Itch would want to go on there is a little bit more deviant than normal. But anyway, the watch over there, yeah, I can see that, Sophie.
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly. Or he's just trying to count the days until they release him from his desk. You never know.
Or he's time.
Right. One of those things. All right, what else? What other impressions from ATV? So we talked MobyGlass. We talked...
Let's see.
We talked Bengal carrier. There's something else we're missing. I don't know. Something's coming in 2.5?
Maybe GrimHex?
GrimHex. I think GrimHex is a thing that we probably need to talk about a little bit.
We talked about the airlock.
Yeah. So we're gonna play some video on GrimHex here, so everybody.
I know the tonal character changes.
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
The tonal character changes.
New colors to clothes.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I think they've mentioned something today in RTV about when some of the specialty clothing. People were asking about when the specialty clothing, like the Han Solo or Firefly like trench coat and all that stuff supposed to come out.
Right.
And they said while they didn't have a date that they are being worked on. So at least we know those clothing options are forthcoming and actively being worked on. So that's kind of
those more complicated clothes, though, they really want to wait until they've got all the physics animations down right, because otherwise you end up with that scenario like you see in all those games where, I don't know, like the Assassin's Creed series, you put on the wrong robes and your legs keep poking through the back as you're running, stuff like that. They don't want that.
And the changes in the audio that they're working on at GrimHex, so if you're in one space and you move to another space, how the audio shifts, I find that fascinating.
That was super cool.
Yeah.
I think don't they already have some of those type of mechanics working at ArtCorp? Because I noticed like when you go to different areas, like you'll get the different sounds and stuff.
I was just gonna say, if you just go and sit and listen, there's so much happening around you, And same with Korea. If you just go and hang tight at Korea, find a spot, you hear ships coming and going, explosions outside from the fighting, and then you hear the internal structure and an area that you're in, the metal moving, and it's really amazing.
Yeah, we're showing video right now at GrimHex as they kind of do the fly-through on like some of the things that we're going to see. I love
that, yeah.
It's really cool, and I like how when they were talking about the audio, like what you're referring to, Soph, that he wanted to make it sound busier, you know, and something of that nature. My question is it going to sound crowded and busy but be totally vacant of actual AI characters?
Well, I was going to say, back it up a bit, and we see something in this that we haven't seen yet in the live game. And that is a AI character actually going for a stroll.
Walking around on that left.
It doesn't sound like much, but that's part of their subsumption. Yeah, their subsumption system.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about that in the monthly report for this month, and they're working diligently on building up all of the various AI behaviors for life patterns and cycles, specifically to start filling out the world and make it feel more alive.
Yeah, you can
so that's
see the
really
guys
exciting.
Lurking up at the top and then walking through the station there and all that stuff.
Well, they've talked about adding NPCs in the Arc Corp, but we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah,
right. They've been waiting on that subsumption system so that it looks real. Because the NPCs we see right now, they put them in there with basic AI, and they look like idiots at the start. Which is why for a while there they were just frozen in place because they just cut all that out.
So I have to ask you guys this question because it keeps going over and over in my head. With the implementation of GrimHex into Crusader, do you think that we will very shortly after start seeing a boost in player population because this now gives us 2 distinct spawn points?
Oh, you mean an actual, like, they will boost the maximum amount of people?
Yes, above.
No, and that's a technical reason, and I don't think I'm allowed to speak more about that right now because there was some internals testing on that. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah, it's not quite ready for it yet. It's getting closer.
They're going to wait to see how this reacts and then expand on it down the road, I would think.
Right. Yeah. But my question is, do you think that GrimHex as a second spawn location would help to bring that into the game?
No, because it's still the overall... Well, I mean, it would help as having more spawn locations, but the thing that's holding it back right now is the overall maximum amount of players is causing problems, not where they're located.
That's right, Zim. NDA.
That's why we run into. That's why we're getting these low frame rates. Is the more players, the more ships you have out. Right now, there is no physics LOD. We've heard that many times, and so everything. Your computer knows everything. Every other ship, both AI and player character, is doing anywhere in the game, and every update that ship makes. So when its power level changes, your ship finds out. When I'm in Yila and I shut down my ship to get out of it, your ship over in Korea gets notified that my ship has been shut down. Like your ship needs to know that. And until they start culling that information, they are kind of at a hard limit for the amount of people they can have in game, or at least the amount of ships. We know they've run tests of up to 50 players in or I think it was 44 or 48 players in the PTU before,
40,
but still only a maximum of 24 ships, or at the time it was only a maximum of 16 ships. So you can have the players, it's just the ships cause the problem.
Well, because the ships have so many assets on them, right? Because it's tracking still every piece of the ship within the body of the ship, and it's not zoning them down to track.
And it's doing that for the players too. It's just that right now we don't have nearly as many item ports, which we're going to get those, and that's going to cause, again,
chaos.
That's going to cause issues and more chaos.
Sure,
and they've got to get that physics LOD nailed down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they got to stop transmitting all the data all the time.
Well, they also talked about the new engine mods, and I think they have publicly talked about that. How they're adapting the engine to be able to handle that more until they put that larger engine, which is also what they alluded to with 2.7 and procedural planets and those type of things. Those type of things are going to allow you have an increased player count and ship count and those things. And I don't think we'll see any of that till you hit towards 2.7, whenever that
I will say this. Last time I saw Ahmed talking publicly about it, and this is his thing, this is his deal, is getting the cloud server instances to work right. He was very excited about some of the stuff that he was working on for fixing the problems. And when Ahmed gets excited, things get fixed. That's what's happened in the past. He's quite well known as the quiet genius around Sig Austin, from what I gather. So if he's excited about it, then we might be seeing some changes sooner rather than later.
And the reason you haven't seen any updates on that procedural stuff and everything from Ahmed is because he got married today, right? Today was the day he got married.
Oh,
yeah. So congrats out there to Ahmed. Not that he'd be watching this, but
that's why we don't have that lazy Xylo on the stream tonight, like he said he was going to be.
Yeah, Xylo is attending. Actually, you won't get any patch tonight, tomorrow, or whatever, because they'll be all hungover anyway. Because I imagine the entire Austin studio is MIA at this moment. And probably
I like that. What was Lando said on Reverse the Verse today? That if there was one day that a patch is definitely not coming out, it's today because Ahmed's not there.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like Ahmed's not there, so nothing's happening with that.
They are not taking the risk without Ahmed there. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, this is the way it should work. So. Definitely. But yeah, GrimHex looks amazing. Somebody said that they already figured out what GrimHex meant or where the name came from. I didn't really pick up on it.
Yeah, I heard somebody talking about green and red hex or something, like because of the symbol.
Green Imperium or something like that.
Yeah, if you look at the symbol, the hex symbol they have on there on one of the screenshots, yeah, it's like Green Imperium or something like that. And then the hexagon symbol, so GrimHex shortened it.
It's like on a banner or something, like it was the company that built the station or something originally. That's kind of what it looked like to me.
And Disco's out playing Pokemon right now. Ugh, that game.
Yeah.
We were just discussing how Nighthawk might have had to chase off some prowlers who were trying to buy Pokemon on his property earlier.
Yeah,
just like standing outside my window. No sidewalk outside the window or anything.
But Pokemon.
But Pokemon, you never know.
No Pokemon in here.
Is there a Charizard in there somewhere?
Yeah.
Well, close your curtains so there's nothing to see.
Yeah, that's what I had to do.
Had to close his window because people on his property. That's crazy. Crazy stuff. All right. Well, with that, guys, I think we could go ahead and shift into question mode. Again, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, go ahead and make sure you are linking those in our Discord channel, please, so that way we could get that stuff going.
It was Warwag, Nighthawk. He just wanted to say hi.
There you go.
He chased them off.
And while we let you guys continue to populate questions, which we will scroll all the way through, if you already asked the question, I will go back to the top of them on the Discord channel and do that. Let's go around the room, and people can talk about where you can find them, what's going on with them, and all that stuff. So let's start out with Moonshiner.
Oh, okay.
What you got going on? All this stuff. We'll let you pimp it now.
What do I got going on? Big push for 800 followers tomorrow, if that's possible. We're like 15 away. We're dropping LN package with all the stuff. We're also doing HCS voice pack and voice attack. So, check me out. I'll be there from 6 p.m. Till like super late. But yeah, we're really pushing. It's we've been like exponentially growing, and so far so good, man.
Sophie, you just can't. You can't handle it, can you?
I can't. I just can't.
It's the beard. I'm sorry if you know. I know it just enamors you.
I did a Mitauchi.
It looks really good.
And I'm just doing the goatee. I shaved off the mustache. I had I just had the chin strap for a while.
Okay.
And now it's just this.
See,
then I'm gonna shave this off.
It looks like he's trying to copy Mitauchi, actually, because it's
a little bit.
That's what he said. He said he's doing the Mitauchi.
That's the way it goes. Well, most of mine's because not only do I have Scotch, German, and Irish blood, but I also have Native American. So this part on the cheeks just doesn't happen. It just won't happen, guys. So yeah, I'd be growing for a while. I'd get the scraggly old man beard thing going on.
See,
so we're just going
the other way. If I didn't shave it, I would have hair literally up to my eyes. Like it'll go all the way up there.
Oh, you'd be like a red panda. It'd be awesome. You should. It's
kind of like my problem, Eric.
You never know. You never know.
Tell me more about that off stream, Sophie.
You got it. I got some good tips for you.
All right. So we also want to make sure while we're going around the room that everybody follows Sophie as well. I know Sophie's not big on the hype, but I do. I think she's great, and she's always good to catch every time she's on anything. So please follow Sophie as well. We got her linked up there. Eric, what do you got coming up this weekend / next week?
Well, we got Perverse the Verse on Sunday. That's at noon Pacific time, which is 3 p.m. Eastern, and we are going to be doing our global giveaway of a Discord T-shirt because Tokyo is out in California visiting those crazy Californian liberals that nobody likes. We're going to be
and politics right in your show. There you go. Just some politics. Say that for
our Californians on stream right there. But because he's going to be gone, it's actually going to be hosted by everybody's favorite crazy Twitch test gaming streamer from Europe, Sergeant Gamble.
Gamble. Yeah. Gamble puts on a good show.
Awesome.
Good choice. Interesting. Tokyo might be out of job by the time he gets back. Gamble
that's kind of what happened last time. Last time you went away for 2 weeks and we took over, and it became Perverse the Verse. It wasn't even called that before that.
Oh, wow.
We literally named it with him gone, and then we came back. We're like, oh, by the way, your podcast is now named Perverse the Verse. Here's the logo, and you have to call it that because everybody's calling it that.
He's going to come back next week. It's like, all right, next Perverse the Verse, you're not Asian anymore. We changed some things. We're going to have to change this whole thing. A few things. So we're going to have to go with this whole new swing. That's just the way it works.
So minor cosmetic details.
There you go.
Yeah. And then otherwise, you can find me on my regular stream times under Eric McKetton and on Twitter under Eric McKetton.
Absolutely. We linked his channel. Be sure to give Eric a follow, guys, if you don't already follow him, which I imagine you do, because 95% of the people on my channel on Space Bros I know are McKetton fans. Let's see who else we got here. We got Mr. Nighthawk Zale, of course. Do you have any upcoming schedule? You just kind of...
it was still, work is progressing with Traverse the Verse.
Yeah.
Finished up third draft rules, so now we're going to start play testing them with the box sets, actual printed version, see how that all kind of works. And
sweet.
I don't want to say much about it, but I have opened communication with CIG Legal.
All right.
We'll leave it at that for now.
The talks are happening. We can't wait for more details on that down the road. So, Nighthawk's linked in there. Make sure to follow him as well. Great person to, if you want to have a conversation about anything Star Citizen, this is probably the best person, in my opinion.
I'll go forever.
So he will, and it's great. It's good. It's good intellectual talk. Stout, what do you got going on, bud?
Nothing.
Oh,
you know what? Stout ain't got shit going on, but follow him anyway, guys. He's only streams like, once in a while. He's not on every single night. He doesn't do anything fun. He doesn't do anything creative like bobbleheads or anything cool. He doesn't have.
He doesn't literally fall asleep on stream.
I published my bobbleheads yesterday.
Yeah.
Finally, I put those on a video on YouTube.
I saw that, and it's actually really good. He's got the entire dash. It's like I think there's probably going to be CIG members contacting, go, hey, where's mine at? Because you have so much of the team there that they're like,
I know. I had
one too.
I couldn't do everybody. I still got people to do, but
it's crazy. It's nuts.
Apparently, there's one of me. I think I've seen it once. I think actually he debuted it on this stream. Now
you gave me a bad look, so I've hidden it away. Now I just use it as a voodoo doll.
Yeah. Definitely. And I will be on as normal. I am on Monday through Friday. We do some weekend in betweens and stuff. But Monday through Thursday, it's always at noon, and then again at 9:30, and then Fridays we do the Space Bro Show, which everyone has to watch all the time. And on the weekends I just kind of wing it there. So it just depends on what's happening because I spend a lot of time with the kids and the fam. So we do all that stuff. But other than that, let's dive into some questions, guys. Questions. And we know the minute Zim got the link, he blew it up with questions. So
I know, right?
He is awesome.
He always asks great questions.
He's like,
he just
I
keeps
will make
them coming
you answer
too.
Stuff. I will make you answer it all. All right. So Zim asked here. He said, "How many ships realistically do you think can be on screen with the Bengal, or even the Idris for that matter? It's huge."
Huge.
Well, anything we think of that would be theoretical at this point, right? Because netcode, blah, 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 all that stuff. But we hope that you'll see lots.
I think it doesn't.
We hope.
One, because it's that much closer to the screen than the Bengal.
Yeah, it depends where you're at. If you're actually right by the Bengal in a ship, you probably won't see anything but a Bengal, right? Because it's so effing big, you wouldn't see another ship. And it'd probably be the last thing you saw because you were way too close to the Bengal with that many guns to see anything. So you'll probably see that and then a respawn.
The way if instancing works the way they want it to, as many ships as any other instance can hold, because you won't see what's inside that Bengal. You'll just see the Bengal, and it will be treated as one entity, just like all the other ships will be done.
Yep.
So that's how it's supposed to be. So if the instance can hold 24 ships, then it'll be the Bengal plus 23 maximum.
Yeah. Just make sure your computer has quad 1080s running, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, no problem. and 64 gigs of DDR4, or
well, it will be really interesting to see how they handle LODs for that thing, because it's going to have to do it so that, I mean, obviously they don't want to render anything you can't see. So if you're just looking at the one side, you're looking at the starboard side, it shouldn't be rendering the port side to you. But at the same time, if you're flying around that at 300 meters per second, it's got to be able to render those suckers fast and not have to pop in.
Exactly, or else you'll have all sorts of fractioning and stuff like that. If the people who have watched me played Ark recently, it's like they have that issue in that game all the time. If you come in too fast on some of the larger buildings that you've built by players or anything, you'll see inside the building for a minute before it renders the outside walls because it can't load fast enough to do that. And they're working on resolving a lot of that stuff. But again, I think part of the game mechanic that will help some of that stuff is the amount of guns on that Bengal with the point defense system, even automated turrets. If you're a small fighter, I think when you get in a certain range of it, you'll die instantly. I think it's really meant more of a cap-to-cap type fighter or long range. That's where you come in with the retaliators, the long-range torpedoes, those things. Because if you get so close, you're just going to be blown out of the sky.
Well, just
imagine if you want that Star Wars experience, flying along, skimming the gun towers on the edge of the Death Star. That's what the Bengal is going to be like. You just won't come back from it.
Yeah.
Imagine
you won't even get that close.
Those plasma shotguns we saw recently that everybody hates, those things would be perfect for point defense on a capital class ship. That's kind of what they're basically flak guns. And I think all of us have watched the new Battlestar Galactica, most of us at least. These big ships, that's going to be hopefully the idea behind the point defense on them is that once their fighters are out of the range, they will put up a flak curtain, and anything, missiles, ships, anything that tries to come within range of that curtain is going to have to basically be lucky as shit to make it through there.
Yeah, just the missile bays alone. I mean, think what size missiles those are. Those aren't something you're just going to be all flare off real easy. It's gonna be nasty. It's going to be really nasty. But I think it's going to be fun. I want to see Nighthawk and his M50 like skirting in and out, trying to dodge all that
That's
stuff.
the only thing I keep picturing because I would totally do that.
I think that theory would work if there wasn't auto turrets. I think man turrets, you could probably dodge them all day because the current turret mechanics are like, good luck. But automated ones...
You got to think at least a third of those automated turrets are going to be missile turrets. Yeah. And in an M50, you can outrun those missiles.
Yeah.
But you get 5 of them on you at once or 10 on you at once, you're not going to outrun it.
You pop a little countermeasure.
Well, it depends on the size of the missile and the range. Some of those missiles, they're larger missiles, will be chasing Nighthawk for the whole time.
Your body floating out in space isn't really
I accept the challenge.
There you go. We'll see it. Testing available right now. Let's get CIG on the horn. Nighthawk's ready to test right now. Let's get him in there.
One quick request. Request. We get that item port system in place so I can put a different shield generator on my M50. I want the damn 4 fields. I'm tired of the front and aft. I need those side shield faces. Mandatory.
Well, it's not really on the side. It's because it's like when you got somebody in front of you shooting at you and your rear shield's taking damage. It's because each shield is taking damage from a component that's getting hit. It's not directional.
Let's also be honest. A missile off that size ship, I don't think any shields on an M50 that could support would stop that missile. I think you either outrun it, dodge it, or that's it, because it's going to crush you. Your soul's dead. All right, so let's go on to the next one here. We got Zim asked as a secondary. He's like, do you know who the streamers are that have been hired to stream Star Citizen at the Gamescom event? Sandy said they will have streamers 24/5 for a 5-day event streamed directly to see. Now I don't know if they're hired.
I don't think so.
I do think they're paying for their flight or trip to be there. That was my understanding. That and not mentioning any names, but they were they're going to be transported or provided transport. But I think everything else is on their own dime. I don't think they are going to be paid to be at the event.
And I got the impression that it's not just going to be people that are quote streamers. That the idea is that what they're going to be streaming is people can walk up to the booth and play the game, and they'll be streaming that, as well as people like Lando or whoever else is community managers there will be doing kind of like a hosted show kind of a thing.
I know they're going to have actual Star Citizen streamers that we know from the community at the event that they're having there, but those guys are, again, there for the demo portion of the thing. They're supposed to help other people like fly the ships and learn the ships and do the stuff at the floor show. So, but I don't know.
Most of them probably don't know what they're doing, though.
Yeah. And I can say confidently it was none of us. So.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
No, it wasn't me.
I will.
He's
not. I was like, I'll go. I'll go, but
he's no more best buds with them than I am, Jock Itch. He's just a more well-known name.
Yeah. I wonder if WTF's going.
Last I heard him talking about it, he didn't say anything about Gamescom, but he did talk about CitizenCon.
Yeah, so you never.
I don't know if he's.
They might not be allowed to kind of voice all that and be all that either. Who knows? Anyway, let's go down here. Let's see. Mayonnaise has a question. He says, "Do you think we will be able to explore the Bengal fully, or will they artificially block off parts of the ship?"
I'm sure that there'll be parts that we can't get to.
It all depends on what avenue of exploration. I think the Bengal will be a map that you will be able to go around in some sort of FPS type mode eventually here, more than fly it at first, just to kind of give us a sneak peek. I think they'll do that with the Idris. I think they're going to do that with some of these major ships. And then down the road, you'll probably be able to go into most of it, but I don't know if you'd have time to explore the whole thing unless you and your org owned one, and that's probably, who knows, down the road. I don't think that Bengal would be ready to do a capture control at launch if that's even still their plan to do it.
And you also have to think it's probably going to be first introduced to you through Squadron 42, which is a linear story experience.
As a set piece.
On top of the fact that you, as the player experiencing, are someone within the military ranks. So just because you're military personnel, you will not be allowed to go everywhere. There are certain areas that you are completely restricted from. There are certain areas you are only authorized to be in because those are your work areas. Those are your living areas. That's it.
Yep.
And that's just normal for military life.
Yeah. They don't. Well, nobody would want to give anybody that type of security or access to any aspect of a complete ship like that. It's really dangerous to do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, let's see what else we got. Personally, I think they'll be able to. Oh, this is Zim's answer to Mayonnaise. Apparently, he answers questions too. Zim's that awesome. Personally, I think it'd be able to, since it'd be captured by orgs. Once you get into kingship size, it will have blocked areas. I'm guessing. So. I could see that if it goes into capture mode, you'd be able to get the most of the ship. But again, I think the prologue of how far out that is that's post PU launch to me. I don't think that's even going to be a thing recently. Zim followed up with a question of Banu Merchantman being made by UK Hype. If the Starfarer is any indication of this, it's going to be a lot bigger than the first concept.
That's not a question.
Yeah, it's not a question. Even though you preferenced it with a question, that's not a question.
Two statements. That was it. And, I just want to say that just goes to show that I'm pretty sure that ship list was, in fact, deliberate and a troll by them, because they're still continuing the myth that the Banu Merchantman exists. That's
exactly. But let's also put out there the fact that under the category where they listed the Banu Merchantman is game design. It's just design meeting, which means absolutely nothing. I mean, we could be having a design meeting right here when we hypothesize about a different ship. There's no people put on it or assets or concept or anything under that nature. So when Ben Lesnick says nobody's working on it, I believe him. Nobody's working on it. He's not going to lie to you because he wants to, actually not get all the drama from that. So it's easier for him to tell you it's not being worked on and be honest. How detailed do you want the background AI to be? Do you want to have them realistic shifts going out of bed, eating, bathroom, work?
That's already the goal.
Yeah, I'd say yeah, because they already talked about they want to see that life cycle function. People, if you see somebody going to work at 8 a.m. down the road or on a ship, you'd see them every day around that time going to do that type of thing.
But Chris has been talking about that since 2013, so that's always been part of the plan.
Yep, absolutely. The Bengal being such a large ship, do you think there will be some small shops, i.e. the Enterprise has a barber shop, 10 forward dinner? I could imagine so. I don't know.
Again, using aircraft carriers as an example, they have stuff like that on aircraft carriers, and absolutely. Some of the modern ones, I believe, even have things like a Burger King and such on it, like not just a mess hall, but you can go to the Burger King or Taco Bell and whatnot. So,
wouldn't surprise me.
Yep, absolutely. Zealous wants to know how many ships do you think will fit inside the Bengal?
I was actually thinking about that. I'm assuming a wing is a squad, or a wing is 3 ships, like 3 Gladii. I would assume you're looking at 4 or 5 wings of fighters easily, just to maintain rotation. So probably 2 to 3 dozen fighters, like single seaters minimum, plus the bigger ships, the bombers, the escorts, the E-war stuff, etc.
If you break the wings off, you can fit more in too.
I'm just gonna be safe and say 42.
Good call. Good call.
Yeah.
You think if like your org captures one, you might be able to like spawn your ships inside of it?
Yes.
Like, just there it is.
I would think
that would make sense.
This is a maneuvering base.
In the essence of gameplay, once they're able to do that, because they've already said they're not going to release this as a sail ship, it would be like a conquerable station, if you will, because they've talked about that mechanic in there. Your org, I think, would be able to get the benefits of this, as in spawn ships, repair, do all that stuff, and move the base around the universe. Now, how that's accomplished and everything, you'd have to have like crew, NPCs, pay those fees, do all that stuff, and maintain it as an org, as a whole side thing. And I think that's a great idea, because it's basically a mobile space station, right? I mean, you could do all these things, but you'd also be limited where you could take it. I would say this would only be able to be in deep space or hostile space. You're not going to dock it like up at, in Crusader portals, or like, hey, what's up? I think
there would have to be a bunch of them, because there'd be so much development time for only a few people to use would be kind of a waste. Well, there would have to be dozens or hundreds of these for us all to participate and play with it.
I think it'd be for larger orgs or alliances, which we haven't talked about org mechanics in a long time, and neither has CIG. They've been there for a long time.
I would question one aspect of that, though. The ability to spawn a ship, not necessarily, but the ability to land and store your ship there, possibly. But Chris has already said he doesn't want basically the ability to instantly teleport ships across the universe.
I imagine they used a delivery system like they hypothesized in the Endeavor, where you order a ship and it's delivered a small vessel there by AI. I would think it'd be the same thing. You'd have a flight crew bring ships, even NPC-wise, would be a delivery time to the vessel, and that's how org would repopulate. And it would probably be on a command structure where you wouldn't, as if, say, you're in Test, and Test owns the carrier, right? I don't think that Stoutman would be able to order his ship. I think it would be Test says, hey, we want 12 of these fighters, 13 of these, and stock the ship. It'd be a command structure tier to allow the org wants to supply in the ship, and then they would issue them out to their pilots. Because it's going to be a military-based vessel to do stuff. Stoutman could fly his own vessel there, but I don't think he's going to order his own unless it's through a different mechanic or shop or something. But again, I could be wrong. But I think this would be great, and I agree there would be more than just one of these. I think it would scale based on the size of the game and the organizations, but I think they would be staged for deep space gameplay, for org-to-org capture, control, and do all this stuff. And if one was destroyed, it would respawn as a derelict somewhere, and that would be like an org defeating an org in it. I think that would be a great gameplay mechanic. And it'd be like, holding space in Eve. Rather than holding space, maybe you could hold mobile space stations like this, like carriers. And if your org holds all the carriers, you're a badass. That'd be cool. Let's see, what else? We got...
Cyberwolf, I just want to say, if that is the case, if we can just sit there and, watch the head on the ship, I will, during my off-stream time, I would just leave my stream open with my character standing in the bathroom and just streaming whatever NPC comes in to poop or take a piss or whatever.
We can start a betting pool. I'll start a whole tab betting pool on. It's like AI Joe takes a piss at 8 p.m. every day. Let's see if he makes it today.
Exactly.
And there'd be other player characters trying to stop him in the hallway by bumping into the AI. Like, we got to slow him down.
Just like I think it was Fiendish Feather that for a while there would stream the aquarium 24/7. Maybe it wasn't Fiendish.
If you see the remote cams in EVE Online, there's people that sit in JITA, which is the major trade hub of EVE, for people that don't know that, and they literally sit there with their view on the overall space docks and just see the traffic of other players coming and going. And there's hundreds of people to watch this all day, just as a mobile, like a traffic cam, if you will, in this AI universe of space, just watching all these real people coming in and out of the thing. I can see people doing it at the carrier, Eric could sit there on the carrier looking over the railing, watching ships undock and dock, and people probably just sit there fascinated by it. I could see that.
I was laughing because on stream it looks like you're trying to beat the crud out of Sophie with your hands.
Oh, I know. I made it so I could reach a little too far where it's probably uncomfortable there. The green screen's real. It's like poke. So it's your turn. No. Let's see. So, what level of destruction do you think the Bengal will have? Will it be Titanic split in half destruction, or something a lot more crazy and awesome? A lot more crazy and awesome.
Depends on the size of the ship that it's targeting. If it's something like a freelancer, yeah, complete and total destruction. But if you're talking about something of, say, an equivalent size... I think he's talking about
the Bengal destruction of it destroying it, like its explosion.
Right. Oh, the Bengal itself exploding.
I think that should be like...
That would be amazing.
I think that should be like Star Wars Death Star type explosion.
Run away.
Yeah.
It's gonna fry your video card.
Yeah.
I would think that if they would probably go for the more, quote, realistic route of not having the ship actually exploding, but breaking apart.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, just think about what it would take to make it explode, first of all.
Chain reaction is crazy.
Yeah, it'd have to be some sort of chain reaction that set off the ammo stores and all that. And
how would a ship like that self-destruct? Would it do it in certain sections, as in you start at the beginning and it just works its way back?
Probably like a series.
You don't self-destruct that.
Yeah.
Well, you might be in a situation where you just got to take
if you really wanted to scuttle that ship, you lock the navigation for the nearest star, and you prevent anybody else from accessing the navigation.
If I was like holding the ship down from an onslaught of like 300 Imperium members trying to hold a bridge, yeah, I'd burn into a star. Or maybe you blow the engine core and then it just blows up by compartment, chain reaction all the way down. That'd be cool.
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think it's one of those things. If it'd be cool to make it destructible, but I think it would either have to respawn randomly in space to be recaptured and do those sort of things. But again, that's gameplay that really hypothetical, way off.
Now,
but I think it's going to be awesome.
Now all I want to experience is a launch sequence out of a Bengal or even an Idris as it's blowing up. And
where the fireball's wrapping around your ship's a movie mode. Good. It's like, get out of here! I'm the last ship. Yeah. No, I want to see it. I want to see it break apart. You're like having the alarms go off, all the hull breach alarms, and you're trying to get to the pods, and it's like breaking apart, and the floor is falling down. It's like what was it? The Starship Troopers when they're trying to get off there. Doors are coming down, airlocks crushing people. It's like that would be cool. So
that would be fantastic.
And again, when we're talking about realism, that is the more realistic fate of most ships. And I think we're going to see that transition as we see the new items, the new armor and shields and all that start coming into play, is that killing a ship is going to be more about disabling it than it is going to be about making it blow up. I mean, right now, that's the final fate of any ship is just to blow up. And I think that is going to be the least likely final fate of a ship.
Unless you self-destruct a ship, I really don't see it happening in most cases, because two things, like let's say, especially with capitals. Now, Starfarers and below, I could see it. But above that, like if you dumped enough ammo even into an Idris to blow it up, you probably spent more than the Idris cost to make.
Yeah,
because it's like that's a lot. I mean, it's you could blow up the part of the bridge, you could kill all the crew and stuff, and still not blow up that ship. I think because
you don't want to blow it up. You want to salvage stuff. You want to capture it. Don't want to destroy a ship.
Yeah,
people are saying, well, what if you overload or explode the reactor? If it really was even a theoretical fusion reactor, cold fusion reactor or whatever they want to do, it wouldn't go critical and blow up. It would go critical and melt down, which is pretty much the exact. It wouldn't. Nuclear explosions are not caused by the nuclear part of it. It's caused by an explosive acting on it that creates an uncontrolled chain reaction.
And let's say you did that. I would say if your fleet's in any type of proximity of a ship, like a Bengal exploding, your fleet would explode too. So there's so many negatives to doing that. I don't know.
Well, not really. Actually, nukes in space are not very effective.
Well,
I just want to see it blow up. I didn't even go this far in my head with it. I just wanted to see the beautifulness that would occur by blowing this ship up. It would be epic.
Can someone please just make it pop?
Just make it pop.
And I just got to say, that's one of the things I loved about, again, the new Battlestar Galactica series, is they researched that and realized that nuclear warfare in space is not that effective when it comes to sheer destruction, and that the majority of the damage is actually limited to impact sites. It's not like it is on Earth, because most of the damage from a nuke on Earth is the atmosphere displacing. It's the shockwave.
Yeah.
And unless you got to have something to move for that to happen in space. The vacuum kind of contains it.
It's true. All right, so to move on, Zim asks also, he says, do you think there are or there will be any fast omnidirectional elevators on the Bengal like on the Enterprise?
I don't think so.
From what we've seen so far, I think they're going for, again, a more modern-day aircraft carrier style approach to that. Elevators, but not turbo lifts.
Yeah, I think you think about Chris Roberts' space style, everything from Wing Commander now, everything's built around this whole World War II type mechanic where it's very hands-on-ish. So he likes all the combat that way. I feel like the spaceships, even though they're futuristic, they're not take all the control out of the player's hands. They want you to experience that, and that doesn't mean push a button, instantly appear type stuff. Whether it's
and that's not to say that there isn't a possibility we might find something like ground vehicle transportation for the flight line, or we might find some form of, say, 4 to 12 person tram that might run along the length of a deck, but it wouldn't be the same elevator system moving.
Remember,
and horizontal.
It's the Willy Wonka elevator goes to every room.
There you go.
Again, referencing back to Battlestar Galactica, one of the things I loved about the original was that tram that they had. They ran the length of the ship, and it was exactly that. It was.
I would love to see that.
I would love to see that too. It was fast, basically a little train for the pilots to get to where they need to go as fast as possible.
And command personnel. Because there really aren't many other people who have a need for something like that. Like we said earlier, most personnel on that craft are just going to be working and living in the space that they're put into.
Yeah, like if you're bridge crew, you may never see the back end of the ship because your bunk, your station, where you eat at. Maybe the mess hall would be a centralized area where you would congregate, eat, and socialize, but you would have no reason to go to the back of the ship.
Which mess hall? There's going to be more than one on the ship.
That's what I'm saying. Size. Yeah, but even that, you're never going to go, like, if I'm working the bridge, I highly doubt I'll make it back to the engines. It's just not going to happen because it's...
Yeah.
Unless I'm the captain and I'm just doing a full inspection tour for some reason.
Although, to be clear, the original Battlestar Galactica was also twice the size of the new one. Bengal. It was 2 kilometers long and the Bengal's 1 kilometer long. So,
it's not big enough yet.
It's not big enough. Let's go bigger.
There we go. Mayonnaise asks, he says, which ship do you think looks the best, and which ship do you like flying the most? And if different, why? So, well, I don't know. I think we've answered this before.
Which ship looks like? I'm assuming he means out of the currently flyable ships.
We'll go ahead and say that's what he means, so that way we don't over hypothesize there.
My favorite one to look at of the currently flyable ships is still the Gladius. I just like the way it looks. My favorite one to fly right now is the Mustang Beta.
Okay. Moon, how about you?
I like my Omega. My Omega, I feel, is like super maneuverable. I like it better than all the other racing ships.
And it's also the best looking for you, or do you have a different one you like looking wise?
It's pretty. Yeah, I like it a lot. Can I say the Bonding Merchant, man? I mean, even though there's not really a concept, and I don't know, I like it.
We only talk about ships that are really going to exist. We don't talk about
real ships. Real ships, Moonshiner.
We don't talk about money sinks here.
Please build it, UK. Come on, guys, you can do it.
Yeah. Sophie?
Yeah, what?
Favorite ship to fly, favorite ship to look at, and if they're different, name 2. If they're the same one, name 1.
Okay, so I've been saying Sabre for a long time, but I did just try the M50. I'm enjoying it. So that's Sabre's still my favorite, but I'm starting to get friendly with the M50. My favorite ship to look at that I've actually been up close and personal with is the Connie.
I can see that. It looks really good, especially since
and it's my favorite multi cruise ship to fly. I love it. I can thank Stoutman for that.
There you go. Nighthawk, how about you?
Easy answer. M50. Favorite ship to fly, hands down. It's the Ferrari I'm never going to own in real life, so I'm always going to pick that.
There you go.
In terms of best looking ship, I mean, for me it's really hard to say, because when it comes to Star Citizen, what I love about it is the variety that it provides in the look and feel of every single ship. So it's really hard for me to say which one I think looks best.
I agree with that.
All
right, Stout.
Stoutman, you there?
He muted himself.
Fell asleep.
Yeah, he's muted. Oh, there we go.
That's how he's just
Fine.
trying.
You want to hear me?
There you
Yeah,
go.
we want to hear your voice.
I gotta say all that again. Okay.
In the beginning,
my favorite to fly would be the Super Hornet, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's still my go-to ship for anything. It bounces off asteroids the best of all the ships. And the favorite one to look at, I think, is going to be the Starfarer right now, because there's just so much to look at, and it's a pretty good-looking ship too.
Good answer.
Yeah, I think for me, my favorite one to fly still is the. It's probably going to be a toss-up between the Mustang Delta and the Sabre. I like to fly both those. They're really fun. I think the Gladius is good, but since they changed some of the flight mechanics on, I'm kind of.
It's horrible now.
Yeah, it
horrible.
slides a lot.
I took the Gladius out the other day, Mitt, and I loved the Gladius before I had the Sabre, and now I can't go back to it.
See,
yeah.
To keep this in mind, though, and the way that they've described it leading up to item 2.0 and all that, the Gladius is supposed to handle more like the Sabre, but not have the speed or the durability the Sabre has. The Sabre is supposed to handle closer to, in terms of handling, closer to the Gladius, but not as drifty, but still have that extra speed on it, and durability. So both of those are a little wonky right now, and they're delivering, I don't know, the wrong impression, I guess is the best way to describe it.
I think my favorite ship
is too delicate.
My favorite ship to look at, though, is that's flyable. If we're sticking in the flyable area, is probably the Retaliator. I think it looks the best. Yeah. I hate flying it. I hate the inside of it, but I think the outside of it, the outside is sexy as hell. I just wish they did a better job internally or flight or anything with it. But I think it looks awesome.
The Retaliator will never be useful or entertaining until they fixed one thing. Gravity boots. So that I can mag boot onto those torpedoes, and you can launch that son of a bitch, and I can ride it
that
just
would
like
be cool.
Slim Pickens.
I want to see that.
I've been wanting to do that ever since they introduced. And the moment they introduced that ship to the universe is the same time they killed the mag boots.
What movie was that where the guy rides the nuke?
That's Slim Pickens in Dr. Strangelove.
Dr. Strangelove,
yeah, Dr. Strangelove. I always think of the Stephen King one, though, the book where he got that from. Though they did that where he was riding the nuke in the Stephen King novel that he got from Slim Pickens. I can't remember what was that? Was it The Stand? I don't remember now.
Oh yeah, you mean Trash Can Man riding the nuke, driving it up to the why can't I remember his name? Randall Flagg driving it up.
Yeah, who was basically the devil or whatever.
But he was actually not riding the nuke. He was driving a lawnmower with the nuke in a.
Yeah, you're a lawnmower or an ATV or something like that, and he's still kind of. He got to ride the nuke at some point.
I love Trash Can. Bombity bombity bomb bomb.
Can I throw this out really quick?
Go ahead.
I have to say, because I've been rummaging over my answer in my head, probably the ship that I enjoy watching the most, fly, the Jean Scout.
That is a cool ship, looking wise. I love.
Change my answer.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good. I would agree with that. It's the first ship that we have that actually converts, right? When it goes from like a landing to flight mode. So, and I look forward to what the Retaliator is going to look like too. I think that's going to be pretty cool. But I still don't think it's going to be as cool looking as the Scout. The Scout's just pretty nifty. All right, let's go on down the list here. Oh, let's see. What are your thoughts? Oh, Head Clod asked, what are your thoughts of Bengal carry? Going back to that, do you think it's big enough? I'm like, I don't know the definition of big enough. I think it's big, and I think it's probably big enough, but they'll come out with something else bigger, and I'll be like, well, maybe we need to upsize that Bengal a little bit.
Well, the next thing bigger that I believe is the
Retribution.
Is actually the Retribution. So, I would hope that because they're working on the Bengal, they've established their scaling now. Because that was part of the problem before, was they hadn't really established the scale. Now they're working on the Bengal, which is the biggest ship that we're likely to see in flight.
Yes.
I would hope that they've also established scale, and we're not going to keep seeing these ships suddenly jumping 2 or 3 times in size.
I hope not, because they just get ridiculous at some point.
What do you mean? I want my Karak to be turned into the next pocket carrier.
No, I don't, because I still want the bloody thing to be able to fit through a jump point.
I want a Death Star in this. If there's no Death Star, it's not a real space game, guys. Come on.
I do like the idea of it getting big enough to have like a Herald in the hangar. Somebody else mentioned that last week, and I like that idea.
Yeah.
But not much more bigger than that.
I was gonna say, once we get in the 1 kilometer range and stuff, I don't think I want to see a ship ever be bigger than 2 kilometers, and that would be like the dreadnought thing. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's the Retribution is it's. I want to say it's 2.5 kilometers, and the Kingship's 3 kilometers.
Because and that's something again you'll never own. That's like a story-based ship stuff and all that. But I think you go bigger than that, it's just, what's the point?
Our interaction with the Retribution will, of course they did say this about the Bengal 1.2, but our interaction with the Retribution is going to be basically like landing on a space station, Yeah. But they did say that about the Bengal at one point. Now they're talking about making it fly, so who knows?
Yeah, 3 football fields flying, by the way.
The ships that are huge, you're not going to see much of it on your screen if you're flying next to it. It's going to be like flying next to a wall.
It's more.
You're going to have to be like far away.
In my mind,
like a movie scene to really see a battle going on.
Well, and to me, that's almost where the Idris is, and it's much smaller than the Bengal. But I mean, it's huge. If you're in the ship, it's huge. I mean, it's going to take up a great majority of the screen. But I look at the Idris and Bengal.
Mitauchi's always obsessed with the size of his ships.
See, always.
I like big ships. What can I say? Anyway, the big thing I say though, these are more for org play. I mean, this is the stuff where you can get with your buddies and you get in your organization, and it's a mission itself. Just maintain the ship. Let's say you never even got in a fight. If you're in Idris, you're maintaining the ship, you're refueling the ship, you're managing the ship. Maybe you go on missions as a group to fight other capitals or something. I mean, that's a whole different level of gameplay to give these orgs something to do. I mean, because if you don't have that, you're just going to have orgs just feeding on themselves doing nothing. Just like, I'll just interrupt all the mission runners. You've got to give the larger sets to do stuff.
That kind of gameplay will start on ships even smaller than something like the Idris, because look at the Starfarer, look at the Karak, look at the Endeavor. And these ships are going to require that.
It will, but let's say this. Let's say you're in your orgs large enough where you have an Idris, and you want to utilize this ship. Are you going to spend your fuel and time and money to go attack a whole sea if you're a pirate org? Or are you going to spend that money to go attack a larger target that's actually going to pay the cost of your fuel, your weapons, and all that stuff? So it's having these different tiers of gameplay, even though you're going to see it on every level, is going to allow the large orgs not to feed on the little guy who's just trying to get from A to B in a whole sea.
Yeah. And we
something else.
This is something we see in Eve. True. The big ships in Eve, the really big ships, they're never brought out. They're only brought out for like the one fight out of the year. Yeah, because you just don't want to risk it. I think we're going to see the same thing with these.
Not so much anymore. Now they drop them like they're fucking potatoes because they got too many of them. Is what they allowed in the game. That's the problem.
But I think we're going to see a similar thing in Star Citizens. And once you get to like say Idris or larger, maybe even I would say Idris or larger. Those ships are going to be providing primarily support. They're not going to be there to directly interact with the fight if you can avoid it, because you don't want to risk losing it.
Or fighting each other on large scale stuff. That's it.
You don't want to risk because. Who knows how long it's going to take to replace an Idris, even with insurance? I would guess months. It's not going to be something they got sitting on the showroom floor. You're not going to walk
20 minutes later
and get it. Yeah, it's going to be months down the road before you get that damn thing back.
All right. Well, I just got slipped a note here from Sophie because we're so close together, and she's going to have to go ahead and bow out, guys. We've ran her much later than she, dedicated to be on and stuff. We really appreciate you being here tonight, Soph.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, Mitauchi. Absolutely. Everybody have a great night.
Yep. Bye, Sophie.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Sophie.
See ya. And now watch all the screens go crazy.
See, where do I end up?
I don't know. It's like the raffle mode. We'll see when she disconnects.
I hope I get that glitch again where I disappear between frames. That was good.
That was pretty cool. It still hasn't updated. We're waiting for the update.
Well, wait. I have no idea.
What the hell?
I don't know what her away screen is, but that's awesome. That is awesome. Oh, there it goes. Well, there it goes in full. Look, Stout's perfect. He's like, now I'm in center where I belong.
I'm totally perfect.
There it is. Nice. Oh my goodness. It's chaos, I tell you, chaos.
Oh,
we'll work on this while you guys
almost have a Nighthawk. I think you got it backwards. Again. If you do it the other way, you might be able to merge your head.
Let me
try and
it's like combine everyone together somehow. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next question while I try to fix the screen.
Moonshiner's got the merge now.
There you go. We'll see. When do you guys think we will get playable characters that have more diverse skin tones?
After they finish getting all the animations in for both male and female avatars and getting that knocked down.
Yeah, they're still getting basic core things in before they can start getting more detailed. So
yeah, they'll probably look at that when they have character customization come in, which is again down the road a bit.
They still got to finish the hair. They're not happy with the hair yet. Apparently, they have at least one artist that just does hair.
Well, it's probably goes into the budget along with the lighting team. So they have the hair guy for the characters and the lighting guy for everything else. So they really have to spend money both ways on the lighting and the hair. It's important stuff. It's critical.
Hair is critical.
Hair is always critical. All right, next question. When do you think that Delta patching will come?
I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know what that is either.
Delta patching?
Is that
Like
just the
alpha,
patching?
beta.
Just the patching the changed portions of the files, not the full 2 gig files?
Oh, yeah, that might be what he's talking.
I'm surprised they don't have that in yet.
They've been working on it for a while. It's not where they, as of 2.4.1, it is still not where they want it to be for deployment, they said. So sometime after 2.4.1 is when I think it's going to come in.
Yep.
Oh, obviously.
All right. Let's see what else we got here. In the monthly report for June, did you see the explosion at Port Olisar that at the very bottom? Well, that's easy. No, I didn't see that. But maybe
that's on
Moonshine
the monthly report.
Show me.
Look in the monthly report.
Tell me about it. Why I look for it.
Well, you just see this giant explosion.
It looks like Olisar on fire.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's exactly. It's
Awesome.
Olisar.
Is it a picture or something?
Yeah, it's just a picture. You can see it actually on the front page of on the RSI website when they talk about there it is.
42 UK, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? That's just because it's 1942 UK. I can tell you right now that's not Olisar. Just by looking at it, those assets are generic. You are probably seeing a still from a sequence within Squadron 42. There is I know for sure there's at least one station that suffers a pretty nasty attack in Squadron 42, and I'm betting that's what that's from. It's from one of those sequences.
You're right. It's like super generic. It really doesn't look like it's Olisar.
Those assets you're seeing, they're used on pretty much every space station currently in game. So,
but it does look awesome.
There it is. I found it. There it is.
Very pretty picture.
There you go. So yes, the answer now is yes, I have seen it. Next question is like, would you ever consider growing a beard to help fit in with some of the other Star Citizen casters?
That was for Sophie.
That was Sophie. Whatever.
The answer is actually she is considering buying one of those beard hats.
Buying
That's not
a
a
beard
joke
hat.
either.
There you
she
go.
really is.
Question for Stoutman: do you plan on putting your bobblehead video on our Star Citizen on the community hub?
Or the community hub. Don't put it on our Star Citizen. It'll just be a depressing exercise.
What do you mean the community hub?
For Star Citizen, do you plan on like linking your video in there on the community hub and the actual proper forums? I guess not the forums, but the
I don't know. I
hub.
put it on my YouTube channel and tweeted out a link and put it on posted it on the RSI site for the 30-second videos. I did that.
That's pretty much what them.
Yeah, I did that yesterday.
Okay.
So it's there. Hopefully
Sophie,
they'll see it soon.
quit telling them our secrets.
Anyway.
What we were going to do with that beard is supposed to be between you and me and the video camera. Just
There
leave
you
it at
go.
that.
Oh boy, here we go. Question for the whole cast. It says, before you saw the most recent ATV, were you skeptical about Star Citizen being not as far along? And the second part of that question, how do you feel about seeing the Bengal and most recent ATV? Well, obviously you know that part. But as far as being skeptical before we saw ATV, did you guys have some doubts about their progress before ATV, or
nope?
No, they've got tons of stuff done. They just can't plug it in yet because it's not ready. Foundation's not there.
Did I think they were as far as long as they are? I thought they were far as long as they were. Did I know they were that far along on the Bengal? Absolutely not. I had no idea the Bengal was progress that far, because it's not something that we as players are going to get our hands on flyable wise or anything like that till way down the road. But obviously they've needed to get it done for Squadron 42, and to the level of what they've done on it is amazing. I'm not going to squash their creativity and the amount of talent they did there, but I know they're really far along on stuff. every indication, every dev we've talked to indicates that we see like 5 to 10% of everything they've gotten done. They have not even revealed half of the amount of assets and stuff that they have done on stuff. The only time we've seen everything like really naked and raw, like where they were, was during the leak last year. And since that time, we haven't seen a lot of that behind the scenes, like really raw. Right. They don't want to show stuff intentionally. But what they are showing us is completed with them staffing up to more than double where they were this time last year. It's like, it's pretty amazing. And they're cranking stuff out. Next question. Go ahead.
Sorry. I invested in this company because I understand that internal deadlines are fluid and they're not something to base progress on. The biggest reason why I have invested not only in this company but in this project is because I know and have seen firsthand through their actions that they are willing to say, fuck the deadline, this isn't good enough, and I'm not giving it to you until it's good enough. And I invested my money in a product that is going to be of a particular caliber, and if they're not willing to give up on that caliber for the sake of a timeline, I'm perfectly okay with it.
Yeah, I would just to add to that, when the Kickstarter first came around, I did not expect them to meet the 2014 deadline, simply because I cannot think in history of any game that was announced that early that met the deadline. Like most AAA games, they're announced a year out and they still miss the deadline by a couple months. So I fully expected them to miss the deadline because that's just what happens in game development. You miss the deadline because things happened. I mean, so I never expected that. And then to find out that they are missing the deadlines because, like what Nighthawk said, and as Lando likes to put it, they're willing to take the risk on doing the better thing. And that's their reasoning behind it, is that we can do it better if we take longer. Hell yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's look at a great example of missing deadlines that is now just went gold, and that's No Man's Sky. They've missed at least 2 or 3 deadlines, 2 or 3 of their announced launch dates that I can recall. Going to be a great game, also an independent studio, but they still have a publisher, a big name publisher, pushing them to meet dates, and that's Sony. And so even with a big name publisher pushing them, saying, "Look, we got to get this out by this certain time," they still missed a couple of deadlines, and that's very common.
I want to also follow up. Where you said, like, were you skeptical? And I feel like this like a lot of these things that have been coming out like the last couple of months. I mean, it clears up like a lot of skepticism. And I've dealt with this tonight. I had a troll kind of come into my channel. He was like, "Star Marine's not out yet." They said Star Marine was supposed to come out in 2015.
Was his name like, Big T-Fit?
Yep. That was him.
Oh, well, he's been banned on our channel, so we need to give you a ban list.
Well, he got banned on my channel too.
Yeah.
But
it's always the same guy.
You're right, but it was just I'm not a game dev. I don't. Yeah. So like when I see this stuff, and I'm incredibly optimistic about this game. So like when I see anything, it's always like a big surprise to me. Again, I'm not in game development. I don't know what's in the pipeline. I kind of come onto this show just to find out like what's coming out. I'm lucky just.
And I thought you were here to help out with information. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know shit. I don't know shit about the game, but I'm incredibly optimistic about the game.
So wait a minute. You weren't nodding along knowingly. You were nodding along, going, "Oh, that's the case."
Basically. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Next week, let's make sure to work in these. He's providing the $50 gift card for the next show. So it's like, oh. But go ahead.
A lot of this, the skepticism really does kind of get cleared up when you see, like, well, here's what's in the pipeline, here's what's coming out, and like what we saw this week and last week. It's just, I don't know. If you're skeptical and you're like, well, this is taking too long, it's like, well, it looks good though, and it's coming out slowly and surely. But
if you haven't invested yet, and we say this all the time, if you haven't invested yet into the game and you're skeptical, don't invest.
Yeah.
It's that easy. Don't do it. I mean, I want people to invest to believe in the game. I don't want people to always be cynical and everything else and talking about it. And it's not my job to convince you to spend money on the game. I'm just telling you about something I love and I believe in. And if you don't like the message, you don't have to take part in it. I encourage anybody not to.
Whenever somebody comes to my channel and asks me, should I buy this game? I tell them no. Because it's not a game and you're not buying it. Right now, what it is you are making a donation to the development, and they are promising to do their best to deliver you a game sometime in the future. They're not promising 100% they will. That's why they have those caveats in the terms of service, because they are not promising 100% that things could happen that prevents them from delivering the game. However, they are, and we are, about 99% certain that they are going to deliver it.
Yep.
What? But yeah, then that's the thing is, I tell them, if you're asking, should I buy this game? No, because you are not buying a game right now. You are pledging to help produce this game, and part of your reward is if it gets produced, you get to play it. That's the thing with that.
Absolutely. What? Yep. Hey Toby, hey Phantom. I agree, Phantom. There's a difference. I don't necessarily appreciate an abundance of either one of those in conversation there. If you have questions, if you're skeptical, and you have honest questions and you want to have honest conversation, that's fine. I'm not going to fanboy you to death into the game is my whole point. It's like, I'll tell you about the aspects I like about the game, as far as where it is developmentally. But again, there's other games that I've backed in alpha and stuff, and they failed. I mean, I'll be honest about that. They have. They've been trash. I mean, look at games I didn't even alpha, games I just bought, like Battlefront. That's the worst horrible shooter game I've ever played in my life. I thought it'd be great. I spent $60 on it. I think most of you as gamers, whether you like Star Citizen or not, have thrown $60 at least once a year on a game that was trash.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, if most people that cry and bitch in chat, if they have invested in the game, they've bought the $60 thing, I'd just chalk it up to what it is. You didn't like it. You don't believe it anymore. Just go away. Or play something else for like 3 or 4 months and then come back and see where it's at. That's what a lot of my friends do. There you go. But I think one of the best aspects about Star Citizen is the open development that we get to see and have some influence on when we're here. If you don't like something, you don't have to be a troll or a dick about it. Just state, hey, I think this would be better if it was like this. And that's an honest conversation. You're welcome to have that in my channel anytime. But, just don't abuse other people that like the game and just have a good conversation about it. That's
over the past 4 years, I've reached Grand Admiral status as a backer, which means $2,500 or more spent. Now, a good chunk of that was money that was donated to my stream that I then used to buy packages to give away on my stream. So it's not like I personally spent all that money, but still, that's the amount of money that has gone into the game on my behalf. And if the game was never released, I would be horribly disappointed. However, I would be very happy just in what I have learned about what goes into game development. I've been a gamer, and I worked in various aspects of IT and computer sciences for 30-odd years now. And I in the past 4 years, I've learned more about the process than I did in the previous 20 years easily. Yeah. Just from watching what they do and hearing them talk about it and seeing some of the things that the bugs they've come up with. I've been a beta tester many times in the past, but I've never been a true alpha tester. I've been an alpha tester in games that said they were alpha that were more actually beta. But it wasn't until this that I've actually experienced an alpha and seen how things can just go so sideways without any indication. I mean, what was it that was happening recently? I want to say it was in 2.3 or so. It was crashes they were having. I can't remember what the particular crashes were, but they came out of nowhere, and they had no idea how they happened because they weren't happening in the PTU. I remember that. We were doing it in the PTU, and it was fine, and we stress tested the PTU. We moved it to live, and suddenly they were having all these crashes, and they could not figure out where the hell they came from. Yep. Same version that they were using the PTU, same things happening. They couldn't figure it out, and that's just part of alpha development is those things can happen. Something in the migration from the PTU servers to the live servers broke it. And it took several patches for them to find out what it was and fix it. But I just remember watching them in the chats talking about it, and they were just as confused as we were. Like, the guys that were making it were just like, where the hell did this come from? Completely blindsided them.
Yeah, and it's stuff we'd never see. Name another game where you see this type of stuff, where you interface the development to this level, where you get to actually be part of the game development on so many levels. And
there is no other game like this. This is the first of its kind.
And to have that type of exposure, you have to look at it from their perspective. Have that type of exposure like CIG does to show all this stuff, and then have such a positive community as a whole. I mean, the community as a whole, be that positive, is amazing to me. Yep. Because, I mean, any other game I've been a part of where you had alphas and they didn't have that type of open door policy, there would be huge amounts of discussion and trolls. You'd have people that are classified as fanboys, but you'd have equal amount of people with pushback. And you just don't see that within Star Citizen community.
I think a large part of that has to do with the game and the style of gameplay and the approach to the experience that the project is taking on as a whole, because a lot of these other games come at and from and strictly for nothing more than the competitive.
Yep.
Right.
And this game is really a lot more about building teams, building flight wings, building
just
crews.
just to survive and operate the game. I mean, and that's so cool because it's so quintessential that you play with your friends and with other people and meet new people to not only progress the game as a developmentally forward, but in the game itself. That I think we're team building now, and the game's not even out, and that's amazing. That's amazing.
And if you want to look at it, look at the poll the CIG has done throughout the years, and it averages out to be between 30 and 40% of the backers are interested in combat. The rest are interested in something else, whether it be being a lone wolf miner or being part of a community. But that seems to be, you talk to most people when you ask them, what are you looking forward to the most in Star Citizen, and inevitably it comes down to running or working on a multi-cruise ship.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
For everybody, it seems to be that. The idea of living out that Star Trek fantasy. Or that Star Wars fantasy of being a bunch of people on the Millennium Falcon or being a bunch of people on the Enterprise. And, it doesn't matter what you're in. The core isn't, am I in combat or am I mining or am I exploring? It's that I am with a group of friends on this big old ship, and my job is to run the sensors. And it sounds so funny when you say that, but those of us that have done it, we've all done the situation where we were just the shield guy for the Connie. And it is some of the most fun I've ever had in a game.
They're so dependent. You're such an essential piece of the team because they don't make dummy roles in this game, and they don't. When they have all these other systems online, everything is essential. If you look at even old design posts like the mining design post, it's like they've broken up the stations on the Orion to be every single aspect is important. If you're the drill guy and you're not sitting there working with the other guy who's doing all the sensors, the whole ship could die. I mean, it's every piece is important, so you're never going to be like, oh, I got to be that position again. It's horrible,
But even if you are here for the combat, again, we see these discussions all the time. Well, if we put X ship up against Y guy, blah blah blah, in these scenarios, the reality of it is, I think for most of us, is combat is going to be Stoutman is flying his Starfarer and I'm his escort in my Gladius or my Buccaneer or whatever. And combat is going to be 99% of me making sure nobody gets to him and 1% actual combat. And if I'm good enough at that, then I'm going to be making a lot of money because he's going to be willing to pay me that money because I don't let the ships get through. Even though a lot of it is just me sitting there in my cockpit talking to him on Discord to keep from going bat crazy, insane, waiting for something to happen. But that's what it's going to be. And for the people that can do that, they're going to be worth their weight in gold, and they're going to have a blast doing it.
Hey guys, I'm sorry. I have to interrupt. I think I need to excuse myself. It's getting a little too hot in here, and I'm starting to feel dizzy.
Okay, don't pass out on stream. We don't need that. We're going to go ahead and
I
wrap it up.
apologize for my beard causing all these problems.
I know.
It does generate a lot of heat.
It does.
A lot of heat.
No, it makes me hot. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the great conversation, guys. Have a great night.
Yep, thank you for being on. Everybody, again, make sure you follow Nighthawk. He's working on some great projects there. I can't wait to play that game. Can't wait to play it. Traverse the Verse. We'll all be looking forward to checking it out soon.
I can't wait.
It'll be good, I promise.
Yep.
Worth the wait.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a great night, everyone.
All right, we'll see you later, Nighthawk. All right, since they're dropping like flies and we're continuing. Oh, look, only Moonshiner got screwed up so far, so we'll see. I'll go crazy in a second. But it's only part of his screen.
Am I over here this time? Or am I over here?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. So let's go ahead. We're going to start the keyword raffle for the $10 Star Citizen gift card, which I traditionally give out during these Space Bro shows. There, everybody. Now Stoutman is now part of Eric's head. And Eric has taken over both the Stoutman positions.
Me.
And Moonshiner's fine now. Fixed all the way up. So let's go ahead and get this raffle started, guys. Here, you got 5 minutes to enter while we finish up a couple more questions, and then we'll call it a night. Explanation mark 2.5 in chat to enter for the $10 Star Citizen gift card giveaway that I'll be sponsoring there. Also, if you like giveaways, not only is some of the Airstreamer here is doing some great giveaways like Moonshiner is to help push him forward to reach, you said 800 followers is what your next goal
800
is?
followers
It's going to be awesome sauce.
Hopefully
we're doing a subscription raffle on mine here on the 16th because we're doing them twice a month, and that's going to be for a $50 gift card. So if you so feel inclined, check out the subscription options under my channel there, and you can watch the show, and we'll be drawing that the evening of the 16th around 9:30 p.m. CST. So let's go ahead and get everybody in this. Couple more questions here. I'm not fixing you, Eric. You're just going here. Look, I'll see if I can paste them back together a little bit. No, I can't. That's the way it goes. We'll fix my X the next one. Ask it. What do you think the klaxon alarms for the Bengal, Idris, and air capital ships will sound like? Terribly annoying if they're good alarms.
Yep.
Because that's the way alarms should be. So
I think we should call them the read alert.
The read alert.
You think we'll get the alarms from like that gray box when they were showing off the piping system or pipping system?
I can see that.
That was like super annoying.
Yeah, but that's what you want alarms to do. That way you do something bad. If they're nice, pleasant alarms, like I've been having this conversation with my wife a lot. I like Stoutman's like super camo image there now. We've been joined by Blanket Boy now, this universal Blanket Boy.
You could probably green screen out his blanket. Too,
I probably could.
Like floating,
if it's a pleasant alarm, you don't do.
I'm not even on the screen. Oh, now I am. Okay.
You are. You are. You're there. I fixed it.
Yeah, I had to put a blanket over my head to get it back on the screen.
Headclot asked, do you think that it will require multiple people with proper security clearances to self-destruct a capital ship?
Probably.
I think that would be good. A good mechanic, and I would hope so.
There's not going to be self-destruct. Does an aircraft carrier have a self-destruct? No. Why? Because you don't want some pissed-off employee to hit the button just because he's
that's because America doesn't lose, dude. That's why it doesn't have self-destruct. America doesn't lose.
Well, see, there you go. Whoever builds the Bengal say, we don't lose. We don't need a self-destruct.
There you go.
It's a government ship. It's not going to have a self-destruct.
I assume there's a method to scuttle the ship of some port if they had to, but they probably wouldn't share that with the entire crew. There'd probably be a command and control thing.
I would imagine that just because they've already introduced it, there will probably be self-destructs on all the ships of some form. But I also agree that it would probably, for the bigger ships, require like the two authorized officers kind of a thing to agree to just to prevent that from happening accidentally, or like Stoutman said, because some pissed off ensign shows up and initiates the self-destruct.
Just open up all the doors at once. Everybody's dead. You're done.
Well, then you just close the doors, repressurize the ship, and you take it.
Well, but it did have a self-destruct, Parrot Math. I mean, if you remember correctly, or at least on the Nostromo on Alien, the self-destruct was she actually had to read directions on how to overload the reactor to cause it to blow up, but the directions were there. So there was a self-destruct. It just wasn't
obvious.
Obvious, yeah. It wasn't like you push a button. And it was obviously designed to have more than one person initiate it, too, because she had to run through the entire ship to do it.
With recently...
Spaceballs, you had to self-destruct, but it was out of order, I think.
Yeah. With recently...
There was self-destruct on that episode of Expanse, where like they waited for the bad guys to come into the room. They had locked themselves in. And then like they waited for them to breach, and then they popped it. So...
Yeah, they talked about in self-destructs in some of the ships. They wanted to make sure that you had to go down with the ship too. So I don't know if it'll ever be a self-destruct run out of the ship type thing.
But yeah, like I said, when you're talking about, if you were talking about something like a Bengal or maybe even an Idris, assuming that they set up a reasonable time frame for it to happen, you're talking 5 or 10 minutes to allow people to get off the ship. I would say the more realistic solution in that scenario is just to point it at a star and lock the navigation system in, and everybody get off ship.
Unless your engines are disabled, maybe the ship's being overtaken or something.
Well, I would imagine though, if your engines are disabled, then whatever you would use to blow up the ship would be related to your engines and probably disabled as well.
Probably.
That is the most powerful thing you have on the ship.
Yeah.
Eric, is it weird that I kind of like picture you as the bearded lady hitting him in the head? And on Spaceball 1, who are you? I'm the bearded lady.
That is me. Totally, like just knocking him out and taking him.
There you
that
go.
Would be me. We're destroying the ship. Boom, screw you. I'm taking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Headcloud. I don't even know what the answer to that question would be. But with recently spotted AMD Zen CPUs using HBM RAM, how do you think it'll affect Star Citizen's performance?
Probably won't.
Yeah,
I don't think. We've got people that are running Star Citizen on DDR4. We've got them running on DDR3. The difference is negligible at best. The difference between HBM and GDDR5 is negligible at best when it comes to actual usable, real life scenarios. Now in the test beds, there's much more difference, but when it comes to actually gaming, you're still running into all sorts of other bottlenecks along the way that hardware doesn't beat.
Unless they write a game to specifically take advantage of certain CPU aspects or memory aspects, it doesn't matter except for the size of RAM you have, in my opinion. Because whether I'm running at 3,000 megahertz like I am here, or on this machine running at something below 2,000 megahertz, the fact that I have 32 gigs in here is greatly increases my capability than the 16 gigs I have here, even though this is DDR3 and this is DDR4. I've seen no speed or frame rate difference other than based on the video card itself. And that's because they don't write it. They didn't write Star Citizen just to play on DDR4, because guess what? You'd cut out half of your subscribers.
Parrot Math, I swear I've been saying this and I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a DDR pad, a USB one, and make it work for Star Citizen. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I want to get one to work for Star Citizen just because people, somebody has actually gotten a rock band guitar to fly a ship. I want to get a DDR pad to fly a ship. Just so I can do it.
That's an interesting question, kind of along the lines of what we were talking about with self-destruct. It's like, do you think abandoned Bengal carriers will have intact WMDs? If so, do you think that the UEE will put bounties on orgs that obtain WMDs in Star Citizen?
Yes and yes.
Yeah.
I think that would be like the ultimate salvage. Would be the ultimate the holy grail for black market salvagers is coming across that abandoned Idris or Polaris or whatever it is that's still got a nuke on board.
Good luck being a small org and having enough crew to salvage a Bengal. I mean, good lord. That'd be insane to cut up a ship and try to salvage that. But what better way to keep larger orgs out of UE space that hold a Bengal is if, it's like basically in violation, they have like a bounty on their organization. So they have to keep those Bengals in deep space, else they have to interact with tons of AI jumping in on them and destroying them all. Mayonnaise asks, do you think we will see missions in Squadron 42 non-combat related, such as providing escort for cargo ships, replenishing the Idris? I think you might start out with a mission like that, and it turns into a snowball like combat mission. I don't think they'll have non-combat missions in Squadron 42, unless it's just running a pilot from A to B. But I think
it's pretty standard for space combat games to have at least one milk run mission. Then nothing goes wrong. It's just an escort mission.
In any of the Wing Commander ones, though. I'm trying to remember if there was. Because there was some that started out as milk run, and then it's like, oh no, here they come, and then it's like it's a. But I don't remember. They might, but I don't.
They got a lot of side stories. They may have something in one of those.
Yeah, maybe so.
And there might be escort missions where nothing happens. I mean, I remember, X-Wing famously had that. I can remember the first time I went on one of those X-Wing missions in the game, because the other escort missions, they always ended, like you said, bad guys jump you, and nothing happened. I was like, all right, wait, what? That was it? I just flew from jump to jump, and nothing else happened.
Absolutely.
So Paramount says they did have a few in Wing, and I seem to remember that they had a Wing Commander where nothing happened, but that also could be. Because of the way the branch storyline worked, those missions only triggered if you chose certain options or beat missions certain ways. And it may be that we run into the same thing in Squadron 42. The way they keep talking about the way they want to make the game, it could very well be that if you do previous missions really well and clear the area of pirates, that the escort mission is a milk run because there's no pirates there to fight you. Whereas you fail those missions, you do a milk run and it turns out you get ambushed.
I do remember the token mission in most Wing Commanders where it was like, go recon this area, and then you go there and there's some massive destruction or something happened, and it's like, what happened here? And you don't know, and then you go back and report it.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be along those lines, because you didn't actually fight anybody. You just like, holy crap, everything's dead.
I would like to see, if CIG, if you're listening to this now, you probably can't put it into Squadron 42 Episode 1, but maybe Episode 2. I would like to see scenarios like that where if you do the Medal of Honor worthy quality mission prior, that the next mission turns out to be a milk run because there's no enemy forces left in the area.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I think that would be really cool to have those kind of aspects.
Yeah, or you kill off a group of scouts and you successfully get them all, so it delays the enemy fleet from finding your team, so you get like that type of thing in there. That would be cool.
There's I could talk about that. It's spoiler related. We'll talk about that off air though.
Yeah,
I don't spoil that. It's not anything I'm under NDA, but it's really spoiler related, and I know there's plenty of people out there that avoid those.
We don't want to do that to everybody. All right, last couple questions here, real quick, inside the Discord. Do you think GrimHex will be an armistice zone free for all, or do you think there'll be? They've already answered that.
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Yep. They're going to have zones where you can get in firefights and zones that it'll be armistice. Do you think you will see a ship similar to the scale of the Bengal but dedicated to mining? No. I don't.
That would be a beast. It'd
be a planet.
That would be something you could. Yeah, you could just haul in the asteroid and then just melt it down inside the hold of the ship.
I don't think there's going to be a 1 kilometer mining ship. It's cool.
It's so huge. Not that
Can you imagine something they could literally just tractor in an asteroid inside the bay?
Yeah.
They seal it off so you can operate in atmosphere and all that. That would be awesome.
I talked about making a mining ship that was a planet eater. Yeah, where it just had like big grinding wheels in the front and it just sucked on the big like planetoid asteroid and just ground it up and processed inside. That'd be cool. But yeah, I don't think they're going that route. All right, guys, let's go ahead and draw this gift card so we can start to get you guys out of here tonight. Thank you so much for entering. We had 31 entries. We're going to go ahead and draw this puppy down. So good luck, everybody. 3, 2, 1. Toby wins. If you can believe that. Toby wins. Holy smokes, Toby.
Toby, I take back everything I said nice about you last week when I said you deserve to win these raffles because of all you put into the community. I take it all back.
There you go. Congrats, Toby. Yep. All you got to do is, obviously, I'm pretty sure I have your information, but just for logistics, go ahead and send me a message either on Discord with your RSID handle and your associated email, and we will get you your gift card, sir.
But seriously, guys, the truth of the matter is, Toby, I said this last week, he donates so much to other streamers, and he's a streamer himself now, but he donates so much to other streamers that he's never going to make back in winnings what he's donated that goes into paying for our contests. It's one of those things where, you know, he wins a $90 ship, but it only costs him $150 to get it. Those kind of things all the time.
Yep. Absolutely. Good job, Toby. All right, guys, with that, I think we're done on the whole question thing. I think we're good. Thank you again so much for being here. Sorry I made two of you like bow out early because you're basically dropping like flies. I grind you too hard. I work you guys too hard. But Moon, again, make sure you guys tune in to Moon. Moon's great. He's been here for all the episodes since his first episode. He hasn't missed a show. It's been great. So... even though he doesn't provide any information like he says, you know, but he's always here.
I don't know anything, but I'm a fan.
There you go. Eric, you always provide great perspective on stuff, and even though, you know, most of the channel doesn't agree with you ever, and we ignore everything
they can all go to hell, they're wrong.
There you go. Great. And Stout, you know, we always appreciate you being here, man, even when you hide underneath your blanket. It's great. Great to have you.
What's wrong with my blanket?
Now, you know.
You're just jealous because you don't have one.
I know, and you're supposed to give me one. I want it now. Damn it.
I still want to get one of those blankets, too.
And again, special thanks for Sophie Girl for being here and Nighthawk, Zale. We do appreciate you guys coming out for the episodes, and hopefully nobody passes out or dies during the episode in the future. You know, we'll have to feel a little
and make sure to fight off those Pokemon hunters off your lawn.
I'm sending you guys down some waivers for the next episode, so if anybody passes out, they'll make sure we're
Goku
covered.
just said that in channel 2. Most of the channel doesn't agree with Eric. Most of the channel is wrong.
There you go. Oh, no. Don't bring it. All right, that's it. We're getting out of here. Pokemon have invaded the Space Bro show. We can't have this action. No good. Again, thank you guys. We'll see you guys later on. If you want to catch us and you came in late, we will have it up on YouTube by tomorrow. Peace out,
and pretty much once this ends, you can click back and watch it over again.
You can. Again and again and again
and again
and again
and again.
And again. See you later. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.